Hi, welcome back guys. This is your friend, the Silver Fanfics. Back with amazing fanfiction. This is the series of What If Ash Becomes Legendary Eon? Now before starting, please give this video a like and subscribe to the channel if you want more videos like this. Now let's get into the fanfic. 10 years before the story. Must get somewhere safe. An unknown red and white female Pokemon that was going through a forest at high speeds. We will, assured a similar blue and white unknown male Pokemon that was also flying alongside the other one. Our egg will hatch soon, and I don't want those horrible people to get a hold of it, said the red and white Pokemon, and I don't think we have the strength to stop them if they catch us. There's a town up ahead, perhaps we could hide there, suggested the male. We can try, agreed the female, at least we could rest for a moment, hopefully. Meanwhile, a young woman was on her way home when she saw members of Team Rocket and some other group that she didn't recognize running through the woods to her right. I bet that Team Rocket is after another rare Pokemon. But who are those other people running with them? Pondered the woman before she ran after them. Back with Team Rocket, have any of you dolts seen those two Pokemon we're after? Demanded a Team Rocket commander. No sir, but from the injuries they have they shouldn't be too hard to track down, reported a grunt. The young woman meanwhile had lost track of the men she was following, but did bump into the two extremely worn-out Lotties who were just as surprised to see her as she was to see them. So you're the Pokemon that Team Rocket are after, noted the woman who then said, well they're not going to take away any legendaries if I can help it. Follow me, I know a place where you two can hide for a bit. The two Lotties were weary of this woman, but could tell that she meant them no harm and was a good person, so they weakly began following after her. The woman however saw how worn out they were, so she came over and helped them along as well as the few Pokemon she had with her. After an hour of stealthily moving along, the woman brought the two legendary Pokemon to her back door. Alright, head inside, I'm going to call the authorities about Team Rocket and whoever those other people were, said the woman as she came inside. Delia? What is going on? Asked Professor Oak who had dropped by while she was out. And why are a set of Lotties coming inside and look ragged and out of breath following you? Sorry, Professor, but I noticed Team Rocket in the area as well as some other group, so I followed them hoping to save whatever Pokemon they were after and it turned out to be these two, explained Delia. Blast it all. Well, in any case we better let them rest here for a while and I'll bring down a recovery machine to fix them back up, stated Professor Oak. Don't bother, we appreciate what you've done for us. But it's too late for us, retorted the Latios. We're just glad our egg is safe, added the Latias who showed Delia and Professor Oak their egg. We've been trying to get away from those people for weeks so our egg could hatch safely, but even then we'd still be hunted down. Alright, but what do you mean by it's too late for you too? Asked a concerned Professor Oak. We don't have much time left. We used all our strength to escape, explained the Latios, but there is one last thing we can do for our egg. What? Asked a concerned and worried Delia. We'll transfer all our remaining energy into it, so that our child will appear human and be undetectable in that form, but still remain a Pokemon, answered Latias. So that way they can hide among us humans without much fear of being exposed? Asked Professor Oak. But then who'll raise them? I will, offered Delia. I'm pretty much done with journeying for now, and I've always wanted to raise a child, human or Pokemon. We agree. We can tell you'll take excellent care for our child, agreed Latias. Child? I thought you came in pairs, asked a puzzled Professor Oak who just realized that the two Pokemon were saying that they were only having one child. We do normally, but sometimes we only have one that is much more powerful than normal, answered Latios. Now please let us give our child our final act of love and peace, asked Les kindly. This is very hard for the both of us. Alright, agreed Professor Oak and Delia as they stepped back. They both watched as the two legendary Eon dragons transfer all their remaining energy into their egg and begin to glow in a bright light. Suddenly the light grew incredibly bright, causing the two humans to look away, and when they looked back they saw a baby raven-haired boy crying and a large gem resting on the ground between where the two Lotties were. Oh, he is so adorable, said Delia with joy as she picked up the little bundle, who immediately stopped crying and looked up at her with beautiful hazel eyes. I think I'm going to name you Ash. A name is a smart choice. That way no one will know what he really is, noted Professor Oak. I wasn't thinking about that, but that is a good point, replied Delia. Yes, well, I should tell you at some point Ash will have to be captured for his own safety, warned Professor Oak. I'm well aware of that, but let's not worry about that for now, replied Delia, who began to coddle Ash. Present day. Over the 10 years after Ash was born, Delia raised him with all the love in the world, and when old enough took him to various places where other legendaries were said to live so his curiosity could be sated. It was an interesting experience for Delia, as when she was alone with Ash, or in some cases people that certain legendaries trusted, said legendaries would show up, much to Ash's joy to see him. Some of the legendaries asked Delia why Ash was with her and not his real parents. Delia told them what happened to them. The legendaries gave their consoles and told her that she could visit them again anytime. The legendaries were allos sad at the loss of Ash's real parents, as well as angry at the people responsible for it. The best place Delia took Ash, however, was Altimari, as there were a set of Lottie twins that lived there that were thrilled to meet and play with Ash. Delia also got to meet the 2 humans that knew of the 2 Lotties, Lorenzo and his granddaughter Bianca. Altimari soon became the place Ash wanted to go to more than anywhere else because it had members of his own kind there. It was a good thing too, as Ash wanted to learn how to properly fend for himself and learn how to use moves, and passed this drive on to the 2 older twins as they didn't know much about fighting before meeting Ash. Ash eventually decided to become a trainer so he could blend in far better and have Pokemon that would help protect him, but which region to travel through and get badges first he couldn't decide yet. This brought out a rivalry with Gary Oak, Professor Oak's grandson, who thought he was the best person in Pallet, much to Ash's amusement, as he is a legendary Pokemon, and his mom, who was entrusted with his well-care by his birth parents. Ash thought that out of all the new trainers that are going to be starting the next day besides himself, that Red was going to do incredibly well, despite what Gary and his twin brother Blue said. Ash, though, still couldn't decide on what region he was going to start gathering badges in, so he decided to travel through them all and gather some Pokemon first and train them a bit before settling on a region to compete in. Ash's moves: Luster Purge, Dragon Breath, Psywave, Psychic, Refresh, Safeguard, Heal Block, Heal Pulse, Dragon Dance, Protect, Zen Headbutt, Aerial Ace, Fury Cutter, Twister, Shockwave, Icy Wind, Defog, Swift, Cut, Retaliate, Flash, Steel Wing, Learning, Energy Ball, Learning, Shadow Ball, Learning. Beep, 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 B-click. Stupid alarm, grumbled a half-awake Latios that was lying in a bed. Now, what is interesting about this particular Latios was the fact that its coloration was slightly different than normal Latios, as he had midnight blue feathers instead of the normal blue, and the gray feathers had more of a silver sheen to them, as well as the feathers atop his head were raven black. "Oh yeah, today I get to start my journey as a Pokemon trainer," yelled the Latios with joy when he realized what today was. "I better get ready to go so I can get my starter." The Latios was suddenly covered in a soft glow as he changed into a 10-year-old boy with raven hair and deep red eyes, but no cloths. "Now what shall I wear?" pondered the Latios as he looked into his closet. "Are you up, honey?" asked Delia from the other side of the door. "Yeah. I'm just figuring out what to wear today," called the now-named Ash. "Well, hurry up. Your food's getting cold," called Delia. And just like that, Ash came rushing out of his room and down to the dining room table and plowing through his food. Delia just laughed at Ash's antics, as he was almost always willing to eat no matter what. "Now, Ash, what starter are you going to get?" asked Delia when she came into the room. "Professor Oak told me that he recently caught a troublesome Pokemon and asked if I was willing to take it," answered Ash telepathically as his mouth was full, to which I said yes. "That's just like you, dear. But you should finish getting dressed for today before you head out," said Delia. "Yeah, I really should," agreed Ash after he looked down and saw he was only in a shirt and boxers. Once Ash was done eating, he went back upstairs and finished getting ready for the day. Once he was done, he saw that the time was 8:45 a.m., which meant he had plenty of time to get to the lab. "All right, Mom, I'm off," called Ash as he headed outside. "All right. Be safe," Delia called back. As Ash jogged his way to Professor Oak's lab, he waved to anyone he saw on his way. The people of Pallet Town knew nothing about Ash's true origins, just that he was adopted by Delia as a baby that was left on her doorstep, and not that he was actually a legendary Pokemon in disguise. "Oh, look, it's Ash," said Gary in a mocking tone as Ash arrived at Professor Oak's lab. "Shut it, Gary," said Ash. "We all know I'm just as smart as you when it comes to Pokemon, so get over yourself." "Hey, you can't talk to my brother like that," yelled Blue, Gary's twin brother. "Oh, I can't?" replied Ash. "Like I said, I know just as much about Pokemon as either one of you, so you have no reason to talk down to me." "All right, knock it off," said Professor Oak as he came to the door. "You can settle your little dispute after you get your starter Pokemon." "Hey, where's Red and the others?" asked Ash. "They should be here shortly," answered Professor Oak. "They're all really excited to start their journey today." And true to his word, Red, Yellow, Leaf, Green and Blaze arrived within 10 minutes after Professor Oak said they would. "Hey Professor, how many starters do you have this time around?" asked Blaze. "Just enough for everyone today," answered Professor Oak. "So follow me and we get you your partner for life." Professor Oak brought the small group to the room where he hands out the starter Pokemon and starting gear. "Now which Pokemon do you want?" asked Professor Oak. "Me and Blue both want Squirtle," said Gary as him and Blue grabbed the Pokeballs that had a water drop on them. "I want a Charmander," said Blaze. "That way I'll blaze through the competition." "I want a Bulbasaur," said Leaf. "Same here," said Green. "Then I'll take the other Charmander," said Red. The 6 rookies took their respected Pokeballs and were given each a Pokédex and 5 Pokeballs. "Now Yellow, I have this Pokemon to give you," said Porf Oak as he handed her a plain Pokeball as well as 5 other Pokeballs and a Pokédex. "Thanks Professor, I'll go see what it is later," said Yellow. "Now Ash, wait here while I go get the Pokemon we agreed upon," said Professor Oak. "So what is everyone going to do on their amazing journey?" asked Blaze. "Win the Indigo League of course and then become champions," declared Blue and Gary at the same time. "Well, I think I'll take on the gyms as well," said Red. "I'm not sure what I'm going to do yet," answered Leaf. "Same here," added Green. "Ditto," finished Yellow. "What about you, Ash?" asked Blaze. "Me? Well, I plan on taking on the league, but which one I'm not sure," answered Ash. "I want to go out and get a good team first and train them before I take on any gyms." "PFF, the only league you'll be doing is the Indigo League like everyone else," said Gary. "That way I can prove I'm the better trainer." "Just for that I'm doing Kanto second," mumbled Ash. "What was that?" asked Gary. "Nothing you need to worry about," replied Ash. "Whatever, I'm off to fame and glory," said Gary as him and Blue walked out. "Well, good luck Ash in whatever you do," said Blaze as the others headed out as well. Once Ash was alone, Professor Oak came back and said as he let out the Pokemon inside the Pokeball he was holding, "Well, here he is." Out of the Pokeball came a Pikachu that looked sorta bored. "Oh cool, a Pikachu," said Ash happily, "but I thought you said he was troublesome?" "Oh, he is, he keeps escaping his Pokeball and shocks me every time I try to return him," said Professor Oak. "Anything else I should know?" asked Ash. "Well, actually he had stowed away in my cousin's bag, so he actually comes from Alola," answered Professor Oak, "and he inherited the special trait that some Pikachus have that come from there." "So you mean he has psychic powers?" asked Ash. "Some, but they aren't very strong," answered Prof. "I'm right here, you know," complained the Pikachu. "Sorry Pikachu, I just want to know everything I can about you," apologized Ash. "Now Ash, before I hand over Pikachu's Pokeball to you, you know what has to happen first, right?" asked Professor Oak. "Yes, I do," replied Ash with dread dripping from his voice. "Then do you mind?" asked Professor Oak. Pikachu was puzzled by the interaction between these two humans. The older one told him that someone was going to become his trainer and take the utmost care of him, and he knew how things went from the other Pokemon that were at the lab. But what was going on before him was nothing like that. Pikachu got his answer when Ash transformed into his natural form. "Please just get it over with," whined Ash. "I don't want to stay in there any more than I have to." "Don't worry, I'll let you out as soon as it's over," comforted Professor Oak as he pulled out a Cherish Ball and tapped Ash on the head, sking him in. After a few minutes, Ash stopped struggling and allowed himself to be caught. Professor Oak promptly let Ash back out. "Thank goodness, I didn't like being in there," said Ash. "You're a Latios," exclaimed Pikachu once Ash was out of the Pokeball. "Yeah, so?" replied Ash as he turned back into his human form. "Being a trainer and being already caught is the best cover I can have." "But you're not supposed to just allow yourself to be caught by some old coot," complained Pikachu. That old coot just so happens to be the top authority on Pokemon in the world, so show him some respect, countered Ash. But either way, do you want to come with me? Stay here and be bored out of my mind, or go with a legendary who can help me become really powerful. Decisions, said Pikachu in a fake contemplative tone. I take it you want to come with, asked Ash. No, agreed Pikachu as he jumped onto Ash's shoulder. Now that's settled, Ash, I should tell you your current carry limit is 12 instead of 6 as you are a legendary and are planning on traveling around before taking on a Regions League, said Professor Oak. Thanks, now I'm going to go around Kanto first and then heading off to the other regions to get my team ready, thanked Ash. Yell good luck out there, encouraged Professor Oak. Just keep me informed on anything that comes up. All right, agreed Ash as he headed outside. So, how are we going to travel? Asked Pikachu. First we're walking to Viridian City as it has the international airport there, so when I compete in another Regions League it'll make more sense on how I got there, explained Ash. Wait, we're not staying in Kanto? Asked Pikachu. I said that we're going to another region in the lab, said Ash. Oh yeah, said Pikachu. Well, let's get going, said Ash as he pulled out his Pokédex, but first let me check what you know. This says you know the moves. Thundershock, Thunder Wave, Spark, Tail Whip, Confusion, Disarming Voice and Dig, said Ash as he looked at the Pokédex. What can you do? Asked Pikachu. Me? I can use Luster Purge, Dragon Breath, Psywave, Psychic, Refresh, Safeguard, Heal Block, Heal Pulse, Dragon Dance, Protect, Zen Headbutt, Aerial Ace, Fury Cutter, Twister, Shockwave, Icy Wind, Defog, Swift, Cut, Retaliate, Flash, and I'm still learning how to do Steel Wing, Energy Ball and Shadow Ball, answered Ash. Wow, those are a lot of moves, noted Pikachu. I know, and I plan on teaching you the ones you can learn, said Ash, but I'm going to wait until we have some more teammates first before we get into that. Fine by me, you're the legendary after all, complied Pikachu. Ash easily made it to Viridian City by the next nightfall and headed inside the Pokemon Center. Hello? Is anyone here? Called Ash as he came in. Yes, answered a Nurse Joy as she came around the corner. Sorry, I was busy tending to another trainer. That's fine, said Ash. So can you give Pikachu a checkup? Of course, it shouldn't take too long seeing how well it looks, replied Nurse Joy. So while Pikachu was getting looked at, Ash called his mom and told her he had made it to Viridian City with no problems. Delia was happy nothing bad had happened yet and wished him good luck on his journey. Ash then called Professor Oak, who told him that Gary bet him $1 million that Ash wouldn't catch a signal Pokemon by the time he reached Viridian, but he refused. Good thing, Professor, seeing how I haven't captured any more Pokemon yet, said Ash. I can tell as I'm updated on every capture you make, said Professor Oak. In any case, I need to get going. My pizza should be here any minute. Once Ash was done with his call, he picked up Pikachu from Nurse Joy when 2 Pokeballs dropped from the ceiling and let out a Eakins and a coughing that began using smokescreen to fill up the room. Who goes there? Demanded Ash as he blew the smoke away with his psychic powers. How dare you ruin our entrance? Yelled Jessie. Let's not fret over that now. The boy clearly psychic, said James. Who are you people? Asked a puzzled Ash. Insert motto here. Team Rocket? Seriously? Asked Ash. You 3 look more like clowns than an actual threat. How dare you insult the name of Team Rocket? Yelled Jessie. I'm not, I'm insulting you, replied Ash. Jessie began fuming at this as this boy wasn't intimidated by them and was mocking them to their face. All right, twerp, now you're going to get it, yelled James, coughing tackle attack. Eakins use bite, commanded Jessie. Pikachu use Thundershock, said Ash calmly. Hiya, cried Pikachu as he unleashed his electric attack into the 2 Pokemon, knocking them out rather easily. Taste my fury swipes, yelled Meowth. Spark, Pikachu, countered Ash, who just registered the fact that the Meowth was speaking in the human tongue. Pikachu coated himself in electricity and nailed Meowth hard and caused him to faint. Jessie, we better leave now before things get any worse for us, suggested James. Agreed, complied Jessie as she tossed a bunch of smoke bombs. When the smoke cleared, there was no sign of Team Rocket anywhere. That takes care of that, I guess, said Ash. Thank you for stopping them, thanked Nurse Joy. and as a token of my thanks I want to give you this. A guide to medicine? Said Ash as he took the book. Thanks, I guess. But can I get a room for the night as well? Sure, you can take the last one on the left up on the 3rd floor, replied Nurse Joy. Once Ash had entered his room, he took a shower and began reading through the book he was given and found it rather interesting, but not something he would go too far into. The next day Ash walked out of town and away from prying eyes before changing into his natural form and flying off into the clouds with Pikachu on his back, as neither of them liked being inside a Pokeball. We now see Ash flying high up in the sky with Pikachu on his back headed towards Pewter City. I never thought I'd be flying on the back of a legendary Pokemon, said Pikachu. Seeing how you don't like being in Pokeballs as much as I do, it's the least I can do, replied Ash. If I may ask, why don't you like M? Asked Pikachu. Well, when I was younger someone somehow found me alone and attacked and almost caught me, but I managed to escape and get away, answered Ash, who shuddered at the memory. Mom wasn't very happy about it, but was glad that I was safe and it wasn't my own fault either. What did you do? Asked Pikachu. I pointed the man out in my human disguise, and since I can't be detected in that form, the man didn't know that I was the very same Latios he was looking for. We didn't do anything but alert the League and other legendaries about him, answered Ash. In the end the man never found me again or any other legendaries afterwards. Sounds rough, noted Pikachu. That was mainly why I wanted to learn new moves and how to fight better, said Ash. That way I can't be defeated like that again. And with your own team of Pokemon it'll be even harder to beat you, plus you're already caught, said Pikachu. Yep, was all Ash said. So where are we going to get our next teammate? Asked Pikachu. Past Cerulean City, answered Ash. I have this gut feeling to look around between there and Vermilion City for 3 new teammates. Alright. So after that, anywhere else you want to go in Kanto? Asked Pikachu. Not off the top of my head, answered Ash, but I'm going to land near Pewter soon so we can turn in for the night at the Pokemon Center, replied Pikachu, who got ready for the descent. A half-hour later Ash landed at the edge of the Viridian Forest and changed back into his human form and walked into Pewter. Wow, this place is really the City of Stone, noted Ash as he took in the sights. Are you here to face the gym leader? Asked a man. No, I plan on traveling for a bit and gathering Pokemon and training them for a bit before I take on any gyms, answered Ash. Huh, most new trainers that I come across don't do that, said the man. Well, I also plan on going to a different region to get badges first instead of Kanto, mainly to get away from an annoying trainer and his twin, said Ash. Oh, well, that's quite the plan. I should let you be and go. Good luck, said the man as he left. The next day Ash again went away from prying eyes and transformed and flew right past Cerulean City before landing just past a place that had a scoreboard that said 80 wins 0 losses and Pokemon Tech. I don't know what that one place was, but I'm not going to find out, said Ash as he landed. I bet it was a trainer's training area, said Pikachu. Perhaps, but let's look around and see what Pokemon we can find, said Ash as he began walking along. As Ash was walking along, he came across a Bulbasaur that was helping a young woman set a trap. Excuse me, but what are you doing? Asked Ash from where he is. Huh. I didn't expect anyone to be around, exclaimed the woman in alarm as the Bulbasaur went into a defensive position. Sorry, I was exploring looking for any good Pokemon to add to my team when I came across you, apologized Ash. Sorry to say, but I can't let you catch any Pokemon around here, said the woman. Why? Asked Ash. Because I run a health spa for Pokemon that are hurt or abandoned, explained the woman. Like Bulbasaur here, his trainer dumped him some time ago, so he doesn't trust trainers very much. That's not right. Trainers shouldn't abandon their Pokemon out in the middle of nowhere, scowled Ash. They should at least take them to an adoption center if they really don't want them. That would be the right thing to do, but a lot of trainers aren't like that, said the woman sadly. Well, could I help you take care of some of the Pokemon before I head off? Asked Ash. I'm really good with taking care of them. Sure, you might perhaps manage to get one of them to go with you, agreed the woman. By the way, my name is Melanie. Ash, replied Ash. Well, Ash, let me show you the way, said Melanie. Soon Melanie brought Ash to the Secrete Village, as she called it, and showed Ash all the different Pokemon that were staying there. Wow, look at all of them, said Ash. Are any of them yours? Very few of them are actually mine, but they mainly help the Pokemon recover, not fight, answered Melanie. Bulbasaur does that instead. Are there any others that help defend this place? Asked Ash. No, since Bulbasaur started, answered Melanie, he's much stronger than the others. Bulbasaur can't win against everyone and he's only one Pokemon. He's going to need help, noted Ash. Well, we haven't needed to really defend this place. The traps I've set keep away most trainers that wander through here, explained Melanie. Perhaps normal trainers, but probably not the likes of Team Rocket, said Ash. Who's Team Rocket? Asked Melanie. A group of Pokemon thieves that seek world domination as well as rare and powerful Pokemon, answered Ash with hints of anger. Oh dear, you think they might come here? Asked Melanie with worry. Possibly, they'll steal just about any Pokemon to make a profit, answered Ash. But if you called the Pokemon Rangers for help, then they most likely stay away. I've thought about calling them, said Melanie, but for now let's help get these Pokemon feeling better. As Ash is helping Melanie treat the Pokemon, he showed her that he was psychic by bringing over any items she needed with his psychic powers, but secretly used Heal Pulse on the Pokemon he was taking care of, so she didn't know he could do that. However, Bulbasaur saw him do it, causing him to wonder if Ash was more than he let on. Ash easily picked up on those thoughts but didn't say anything as not to R's suspicion. After Ash was done helping Melanie treat the Pokemon, she offered him to spend the night at her cabin. Ash agreed but also reminded her to call the Pokemon Rangers before she forgets. The next day Ashes went to bid farewell to the Secret Village, but not before Bulbasaur confronted Ash. Alright, Spill, how is it you were able to use Heal Pulse? And know exactly what we were saying, because I know for a fact that psychics can't understand our language, just read our minds to figure out what we're saying. What's Bulbasaur going on about now? Asked Melanie. He's wanting to come with, lied Ash, who also told Bulbasaur telepathically that if he really wanted to know he'd have to come with him. Is that true, Bulbasaur? Asked Melanie. I guess, replied Bulbasaur with a nod, as he really did want to know the truth. That's such a relief. I was hoping that someone would be able to gain Bulbasaur's trust again, said Melanie with relief. Why? Asked Ash. Because his bulb can't grow anymore if he stays here. He needs to see the world so he can grow, answered Melanie. Oh, don't worry, he'll see the world all right, assured Ash. What does he mean by that? Asked Bulbasaur. You'll see, replied Pikachu mysteriously. So Bulbasaur followed Ash away from the Secret Village and was awed when Ash changed into his natural form. Does this answer your question? Asked Ash. Yes it does, answered Bulbasaur, who was still in awe of seeing a legendary Pokemon. Good, so now do you want to come with for real? Asked Ash. Yes, answered Bulbasaur. Alright then, go Pokeball, said Ash as he threw a Pokeball at Bulbasaur. So what now? Asked Bulbasaur after Ash let him back out. We're going to continue heading to Vermilion City and find more teammates, answered Ash. In the meantime, we're going to start training. So what are we going to learn? Asked Pikachu. First let me check what Bulbasaur knows first, replied Ash as he pulled out his Pokédex. Okay, Bulbasaur knows the moves. Vine Whip, Tackle, Growl, Take Down, Razor Leaf, Sleep Powder, Whirlwind, Sludge. How in the world do you know Whirlwind? I have no idea, replied Bulbasaur. I just happen to know it. Well, in any case, let me tell you guys what we will be learning and working on, said Ash. Pikachu, I want you to work on learning Iron Tail and Quick Attack as well as learning Shockwave. I'll show you how it's done. Bulbasaur, I want you to work on learning Leech Seed, Poison Powder, Ingrain, and Sunny Day, while I'm going to continue working on learning Steel Wing, Energy Ball, and Shadow Ball after helping Pikachu. Right, cried Pikachu and Bulbasaur. Over the course of a week, Ash, Pikachu, and Bulbasaur worked on learning new moves and improving their stats. During this time, Ash saw the other new trainers from Pallet go by, but kept hidden from them so they didn't know he was there. Alright, let's get going, said Ash after breakfast one morning. We need to get to the Pokemon Center and get checked over. Good idea, but what about you? Replied Bulbasaur. All Nurse Joys and Officer Jennies know the truth about me and know how to act accordingly, answered Ash. Makes sense, noted Bulbasaur. As the group walked along, Ash noticed a Charmander sitting on a rock, but something seemed off. Hey, is everything alright? Asked Ash with worry clearly written on his face. Yep, everything is fine, replied the Charmander with a nod, but Ash could tell he was lying very easily. You're lying, I can tell, said Ash as he picked up Charmander with his psychic powers and held him upside down. Okay. My trainer told me to sit here on this rock like 2 weeks ago with this odd stone, but I'm not sure if he'll ever come back, cried Charmander, who was scared of what Ash could do. Why would your trainer say and do such a thing? Asked Ash in a calmer tone as he gently set Charmander back down. I have no idea, answered Charmander. He kept sending me out against Pokemon that I have a type advantage against, but they were far stronger than me. I think he abandoned you because he thinks that having the type advantage and pure power is the best thing to have, but that's only partially true, said Ash. But I don't care about that. I train my Pokemon to be their best no matter what they're up against. Then could I come with? I'm not sure how much longer I can stay here and still be breathing, asked Charmander with hope clear in his voice. Of course, agreed Ash as he pulled out a Pokeball and tapped Charmander on the head. Seriously? That trainer left a Charizardite Y behind, said Ash when he saw the odd stone that Charmander was left with. What's that? Asked Charmander. It's a Mega Stone for Charizard, answered Ash, one of 2 actually. What's Mega Evolution? Asked Bulbasaur, who had been quite up till this point. It's a step above the final evolution for most Pokemon or allows them to evolve at all, but it's only temporary and not all Pokemon can do it, explained Ash. Could any of us Mega Evolve? Asked Pikachu. Actually, the 3 Kanto and Hoenn starters can Mega Evolve as well myself, answered Ash. But there are 2 components to Mega Evolve, a Key Stone and a Mega Stone. You can Mega Evolve? Asked Pikachu with shock, as well as Bulbasaur and Charmander when they reach their final stage? Yep, but it can really hard to find the right stones and I'm not overly interested in Mega Evolving right now, answered Ash. So are we going to be training anytime soon? Asked Pikachu with earnest. In a few days I want to try to find another teammate first, answered Ash. Oh, I wanted to show how strong I am, complained Charmander. I need you back to full health first, countered Ash. And thankfully a Pokemon Center is just up ahead so we can heal up there. Alright, agreed Charmander with some sorrow in his voice. Cheer up Charmander, I'll check what you can do once we get healed up, assured Ash. As Ash and the others get looked after by Nurse Joy, Ash checked what Charmander knew and found he knew Flamethrower, Smokescreen, Scratch, Leer, Bite, Fire Fang and Air Cutter. 3 days later Charmander is determined to be in full health and ready for training. Okay, now we can start training, said Ash, but we need to find a nice place to do some major training. So what are we doing for training in the meantime? Asked Bulbasaur. Endurance, speed, aim and power, answered Ash. And in my case evasion as you guys aim your attacks at me. We're not going to hurt you, are we? Asked Charmander. Nah, I'm resistant to most of your attacks, replied Ash. Plus I'm stronger than you guys remember. So Ash spent 2 days training everyone's stats. During this Pikachu learned Quick Attack and decided that he wanted to learn Double Team and Agility alongside the other moves Ash wanted him to learn. Ash had no problem with this as he felt that his Pokemon should learn moves that they wanted as well as any moves he wanted them to learn. A few days later as Ash was walking along, he somehow managed to fall into a pit trap. Ow! Who did that? Yelled Ash in annoyance. I'm going to teach whoever did this a lesson, added Pikachu. The other 2 were currently inside their Pokeballs to rest their feet so they didn't say anything. Wahaha! Laughed a group of Squirtless that looked over the edge. This however didn't last very long as Ash and Pikachu used their psychic powers to float out of the hole and strike them with said power. Thanks for stopping them, thanked Officer Jenny when she came to take away the Squirtle Squad. I know they were abandoned by their trainers, but they needed to be stopped and shown that they should trust people again, replied Ash, who was in his natural form as there was no one else around. I can't believe we got busted by a legendary Pokemon of all things, grumbled the former leader of the Squirtle Squad as he stood behind Ash with Charmander, Bulbasaur and Pikachu surrounding him. Well, thanks again. I know these troublemakers will make for a great fire squad soon enough, and good luck taking care of their leader, said Officer Jenny as she carted off the rest of the Squirtless to town. Now that's settled, I can find a nice remote area for us to train in for a week or so, said Ash. So where are we off to once we're done? Asked Pikachu. I'm thinking of doing a quick swoop around Kanto before I head down to Alola for a bit and then head to Johto, answered Ash. Where are we going to face gym leaders? Asked Pikachu. Haven't decided yet. But I'll let you know once I do, answered Ash. But for now let's go train. Ash eventually found a nice place high up in the mountains to train in for a short while and had everyone learn new moves and improve their stats. After a week and a half everyone had learned most of the moves that either Ash had them learn or they wanted to learn themselves. After that Ash began the trip down to Alola after stopping in Vermilion City to restock on supplies. We see Ash cruising up in the clouds with Pikachu again on Ash's back as they head down to Alola. "Hey Pikachu, you come from Alola, right?" asked Ash. "Yeah, but it was boring though, so I stowed away onto a plan by hiding in some random guy's bags," answered Pikachu. "And you know how that ended up." "Yeah, Professor Oak found and captured you," said Ash. "Yeah, I truly didn't see that coming," said Pikachu, "but I will tell you that Alola doesn't have that many legendaries compared to most of them." "I'm aware of that, but is there anything else I should know?" replied Ash. "Not really, but I'm not really up for seeing my family again," answered Pikachu. "Why?" asked Ash. "They are way into the whole psychic thing," grumbled Pikachu. "You do know that I am a psychic?" asked Ash sarcastically. "Yeah, I know, but what I mean is they are way into meditating and improving and pushing their psychic powers, much to my annoyance," said Pikachu. "Ugh, I know what you mean, but that really does help improving one's psychic powers," replied Ash. "Great. So I'm going to have to do that," groaned Pikachu. "But anyway, how long is it till we get to Alola?" "A few days. It'd be quicker if you were in your Pokeball, but I'm not going to force you to do that, plus we aren't in any hurry to get anywhere," answered Ash. "Well, once we get there, are there any Pokemon you're interested in gaining, and what training are we doing once we get there?" asked Pikachu. "We're going there just to look. I'm not really looking for any Pokemon in particular," answered Ash. "And as for training, we'll see." "Oh, well, I'm taking a nap, so wake me when you go to land," said Pikachu with a yawn. After 2 days of travel, Ash arrived in Alola and landed among the palm trees and headed deeper into the trees. As Ash walked along, he realized that he was wearing cloths that were too warm, so he found a good place where he could change into better cloths, Alola outfit. "That's better," said Ash. "Now where am I actually in Alola?" "I'm not sure," said Pikachu. "I don't recognize any landmarks." "Well, let's look around and see what Pokemon we can find," said Ash. As they walked around, Ash saw all kinds of Pokemon, but didn't see any that perked his interest. Eventually, Ash saw a Rockruff running towards a building that he recognized as Professor Kukui's trainer school. "I so don't want to deal with a bunch of people right now," groaned Ash. "Then don't," said Pikachu. "That's the thing. I'm interested in that Rockruff though," said Ash. "Then sneak in when it gets dark," suggested Ash. "That's a bad idea," said Ash. "I think I'll just call the professor and ask to speak to him about the Rockruff." "I guess that's a better idea," agreed Pikachu. So Ash called up Professor Kukui and told him that he was nearby and had seen a Rockruff run into the school that he was interested in. The professor was shocked to learn that Ash was actually in the Alola region at the moment, but remembered that he was actually a Latios, so it wasn't too far-fetched. The professor told Ash that he was taking care of the Rockruff, but it wasn't actually his, so if Ash wanted he could come and become its trainer. Ash said that he'll come by during the night to get to know the Rockruff and pick it up. Once night fell and the students had gone to bed, Ash came over and let Professor Kukui know he was there and was let in. "Well, let me show you Rockruff since you have an intensist in him," said Professor Kukui as he went to go get Rockruff. As Ash waited, one of the students just so happened to walk by as they were getting a drink. "Huh? Who are you?" asked the student. "I'm just here to see a Rockruff that I saw running around here as I was passing by," answered Ash. "Oh, I was kinda thinking you might be joining us here," said the student. "Sorry, no. I plan on gathering a team of various Pokemon before I take on a Regions League," said Ash. "Well, sad to say, but Alola doesn't have a league," said the student. "I'm aware of that. I'm just here to find Pokemon for my team," said Ash. "Nothing more." "You should be in bed," said Professor Kukui as he came over holding Rockruff in his arms. "All right, it was nice meeting you," said the student. "Don't fret about my name for now. I'm just passing through," said Ash. "Fine," groaned the student as they headed off to bed. "Well, Ash, here's Rockruff. Now I'll leave you two to get acquainted, 'cause I need to get to bed myself," said Professor Kukui as he headed to bed. "So that you wanted to see me?" asked the Rockruff. "Yes, I did," answered Ash in his native tongue. "Whoa, the professor wasn't lying when he said you were really a Pokemon," said the Rockruff in awe. Thanks, now come outside and I'll show you which one, whispered Ash. Once outside and away from the school, Ash relieved to Rockruff his true form. Oh my gosh! You're a legendary! Exclaimed Rockruff in shock. I know that much, but I don't go around flaunting that, said Ash. It's kinda silly to me for some legendaries to act that way when there are far stronger ones out there. What is a Latios doing all the way here in Alola? Asked a voice. Ash turned to look and saw the legendary Pokemon Tapu Koko floating off to the side, so he answered, I'm gathering a Pokemon team as I recently became a Pokemon trainer as cover. I see, a wise choice considering your kind can pass themselves as human, said Tapu Koko. Now let me give you a small gift. What? Asked Ash. A Zeering, answered Tapu Koko. Really? Asked Ash. Why? Because I know you'll be able to use it with no issues, answered Tapu Koko. Not many people are able to use the power of Z moves, just like how not many can achieve Mega Evolution. Thanks for the gift, but how can I use it without any Z crystals? Replied Ash as he took the Zeering Tapu Koko was holding out to him. This bag holds one of each type, but none of the Pokemon exclusive ones, replied Tapu Koko as it handed over said bag. Thanks, this will make things a little easier, thanked Ash, and don't worry, I'll use it wisely. I'm sure you will, replied Tapu Koko as it flew off. Well, it looks like I'm going to check how well these work at a later time, but for now bed, said Ash with a yawn. The next morning Ash properly caught Rockruff and checked his moves before doing some training in a very remote area so no one could see him. However, there were some people who did see him from far away. These people were the Ether Foundation. How odd that a Latios is here in the Alola region, noted one of the scientists. They're normally found in Hoenn. Really? A legendary Pokemon not native to Alola has been spotted? Asked Faba as came over and looked at the monitor. My word, there really is a Latios here in Alola and it appears to be wild. What should we do? Asked the scientist. Monitor it, it isn't our main concern, remember, said Faba. Finding the Ultra Bests are. Right, replied the scientist. Without his knowledge, as he was training with his Pokemon, Ash was being monitored, but either way his Pokemon made some good progress. Alright everyone, it's time for us to get going, announced Ash. Our next stop is Johto. We're not going to stay here in Alola? Asked Rockruff. No, I've been getting really weird vibes shortly after I arrived. I don't know why though, answered Ash. It could do with the rumors of Pokemon called Ultra Bests I've heard, suggested Pikachu. I've heard about them too. They're said to be just as strong as a legendary Pokemon in terms of power, but much more inherently destructive, said Rockruff. I've never heard about Ultra Bests before, said Ash, but I'm most defiantly asking the next legendary I met about them that I'm sure will know something about them. Good idea, but let's pack up and head out, said Pikachu. Ash was soon on his way to Johto, flying at high speeds as he managed to convince Pikachu to temporarily go into his Pokeball so he could go faster. The Ether Foundation saw Ash leave, but didn't notice him recalling Pokemon or any distinguishing features as Ash was just out of focus for them to see him clearly. Well, it appears that the Latios was only passing through the area as well as training itself, reported the scientist. Meh, no matter, said Fapa. I figured as much. Alola doesn't have much that would interest a legendary Pokemon except the shrine. A few days later we see Ash arriving at the southern edge of Johto near New Bark Town. How you holding up? Ash asked Pikachu as he had been let out on a remote island and was told that he could ride on his back the rest of the way to Johto if he meditated, to which Pikachu agreed to. I'm doing all right, even though I'm bored out of my mind, replied Pikachu. Well, we'll be landing soon, but before that I want you to fire a Confusion and Psywave off so I can see how much they've improved, said Ash. All right, here I go, complied Pikachu as he used his 2 psychic attacks. They're better than when I first observed them, but there is room for improvement for sure, noted Ash. Next training session I want you to practice lifting rocks and holding them with Confusion before anything else. Fine, I'll do it, agreed Pikachu with some dread in his voice, but knew better than to argue with a legendary Pokemon and a psychic type on top of that. Ash soon landed just outside New Bark Town and led his team out. Alright, we're currently just outside New Bark Town in Johto, Ash told his Pokemon. And while we're here in Johto, we're going to do some important training as well as be on the lookout for new teammates. Didn't you say there was a place in Johto where 2 more of your kind lived? asked Bulbasaur. Yes, and we'll go see them soon, but for now let's find a place to go train, replied Ash. And what kind of training are we doing this time? Asked Charmander. This time we're going to mostly meditate and focus our energy so our attacks are more powerful, answered Ash. And it'll also help me figure out any hidden powers you might have. I know it sounds boring, but it's for the best. I'm down with that, said Bulbasaur. It's no different than sunbathing to me. I was hoping for something more psychical, complained Squirtle. Who's the trainer here? Asked Ash in a stern tone, while adding telepathically that he is a legendary as well and he should listen to him. Squirtle immediately stopped complaining as Ash was both his trainer and a legendary Pokemon to boot. Afterwards, Ash led the group through New Bark Town and headed off north towards Blackthorn City, home to the Dragon's Den, on foot. On the way there, Ash had his Pokemon mostly meditate and focus their energy as well as learn a few new moves along the way. This proved useful as everyone was able to learn the new moves Ash wanted as well as improve their battle awareness and be able to hit a Pokemon more easily if they used Double Team or their own vision was impaired. Once Ash reached Blackthorn, he headed straight to Dragon's Den as he could sense where it was as he himself is a Dragon-type Pokemon. However, once he did reach it, he was told that he needed to have the badge from the gym or have special permission to be allowed inside. Ash, however, put the person guarding the entrance in his place by changing into his natural form and giving him the "Oh really?" look. The guard quickly apologized to Ash and moved aside to let him in. Ash just rolled his eyes as he went inside, thinking how ridiculous the man was acting once he found out he was speaking to a legendary dragon type. "So what are we here for?" asked Pikachu. "A Dragon Fong, it's an item that makes dragon-typed attacks stronger," answered Ash. "I want to get one for me and the other two Lotties that live in Altimari." "Anything else?" asked Charmander. "Nothing off the top of my head, but we'll see," replied Ash. The group soon reached the shrine located in the heart of Dragon's Den. Thankfully no one had seen them at that point. However, both Lance and his cousin Claire were at the shrine and both saw Ash as he flew down to the shrine and sent out a Pokemon each to try to catch him. Ash quickly pulled back and fired off Imperfect Ice Beam at both advancing Pokemon while Pikachu used Disarming Voice, Charmander used Flamethrower, Bulbasaur used Sludge Bomb, Rockruff used Rock Throw and Squirtle used a very shaky Dragon Pulse. The advancing Pokemon, nor their trainers didn't expect a Latios to have Pokemon with him to help protect him, so the attacking Pokemon took some damage, mainly from Ash and his Ice Beam that still needed some work. "It appears as though we've made a slight error," noted Lance. "I don't think so, those Pokemon with it look pretty weak. They shouldn't prove too hard to beat," countered Claire. As they were talking, Ash fired off another Ice Beam and fainted Claire's Pokemon much to her shock. Lance could tell that they've made this legendary very angry, so he recalled his Pokemon in hopes of getting it to calm down. Ash saw this and that Lance told Claire to back down, much to her displeasure, so he came out of his battle stance along with his Pokemon and fully came into the chamber. As Ash came closer, Lance recognized him from a photo he was given from the Mr. Good show of a unique Latios that was becoming a trainer and to keep an eye out for him and make sure he's safe. "You wouldn't happen to be Ash, would you?" asked Lance wearily. "Indeed I am," replied Ash with annoyance and anger lacing his voice. "I came here to get a Dragon Fong for me and two other Lotties that I'm going to visit soon, and what do I get? Two dragon trainers trying to catch me." "Lance, you know this Pokemon?" asked Claire with confusion. "Indeed I do. Mr. Good Show told me about a special Latios that was going to become a trainer as cover and protection and that I should help him out any way I can. I just didn't recognize him right away," answered Lance. "Plus I've always wanted a Latios or any legendary dragon type." "Good luck with that," said Ash still in the same tone. "Most legendaries aren't very sociable and keep away from humans." "Well, Ash, I must apologize for how I acted. Is there anything I can do to make it up to you?" asked Lance. "You can help me train," replied Ash in her authoritative tone. "There are some moves I want me and my team to learn, but I don't know where to start." "I guess that's fair," replied Lance with relief that Ash didn't demand anything too harsh of him until Ash added that he had to do it in his underwear. Claire had gone inside the shrine to fetch the 3 dragon fangs for Ash and the 2 Lotties he knew, but still heard Ash tell Lance what his punishment was and hoped that her punishment wasn't horrible like Lance's was. That wasn't the case, as Ash demanded that she spend 3 days on top of MT Coronet in Sinnoh or spend a week with a certain fairy-type gym leader in Kalos. Claire grudgingly went with going to Kalos as not to die on top of a remote mountain with just her Pokémon. After Claire left, as per her punishment, Lance began helping Ash and his team learn the basics of the moves Ash wanted them to learn, and gave them pointers to improve their fighting styles. This went on for about a week before Ash decided it was time for him to move on and thanked Lance for his help after their little misunderstanding. During that time, some of Ash's Pokémon evolved and gained much more power than they had beforehand. Once Ash was on his way, Pikachu asked him where they were headed next, to which Ash replied Altimari to see his friends and give them their gifts. As Ash was flying towards Altimari, he saw a shiny Noctowl that was slightly smaller than normal flying around in a forest below him and decided to catch it, so he fired off an ice beam, nailed and froze it, and then tossed a heal ball at it, catching it instantly. "Nice catch," noted Pikachu after Ash had swooped down to pick up the falling heal ball. "Thanks, it's really hard to find shiny Pokémon," replied Ash. "But in any case, we should arrive in Altimari tomorrow, so let's land and get some sleep tonight." "If that's what you want to do, then who am I to judge what a legendary wants to do?" replied Pikachu. "Ha, very funny," laughed Ash. Ash soon landed and let out all his Pokémon, introduced Noctowl to them, and made camp. The next morning the group did some exercises before breakfast, and after that Ash recalled his Pokémon and flew off to Altimari. Speaking of Altimari, trouble was brewing as Team Rocket had sent 2 operatives there to find and capture both the Lotties as well as an item known as the Soul Dew. Team Rocket also sent Jesse and James over to help, as they were still regarded as good agents that were rising up through the ranks, so that they could learn from some of the best. After Jesse and James encountered Ash, they thought that he was going to head into Viridian Forest, so they had set a trap, but as Ash had flown overhead it didn't work. So they figured that Ash had used the airport to go to a different region and hoped to find him again so they could capture him and his Pokémon. As Team Rocket approached Altimari, they noticed incredibly up high in the sky was a Latios flying towards the city, after they used a telescope to figure out what was flying above them when they noticed something above them. "Looks like the rumors of Latias and Latios living in the city are true," noted Oakley. "Which means our mission will be a success," said Anne. "What do you want us to do?" asked Jesse. "Scout out the area on foot," replied, "and we'll go by boat. Hopefully we should find any Lotties hiding here with our special goggles." "Yes, Team Rocket will soon have the power of the Soul Dew and legendary Pokémon that protect it in its control," said James. The 4 operatives began laughing along with Meowth. However, Ash, despite being so high up, was able to sense Team Rocket's dark thoughts and knew he had to warn his friends, and hoped that they had been working on learning some offensive moves since the last time he saw them. A half-hour later, Ash arrived in Altimari and decided to land in an alleyway before changing into his human form and merging into the crowd. As Ash walked around, he looked around at the various shops around the city. He noticed that Latias was watching him from afar in her disguise that he helped her make a few years ago, with a major grin on her face, clearly happy that he was back in Altimari. Ash was very glad to see Latias again, and knew that he did indeed have a major crush on her and that she felt the same way about him. But Ash didn't know if she was willing to leave Altimari with him or not, plus her brother was rather protective of her and want her to either stay in Altimari or come along to keep an eye on them due to both of them getting into trouble time to time. Ash noticed that Latias had walked off somewhere, probably going back to her patrol of the city, and decided to buy her something special just for her to show her how he truly felt about her. All this happened within a minute, so Pikachu was confused to why Ash suddenly went looking for jewelry of all things, so he asked Ash what was going on. "Remember when I said that I know the 2 Lotties that live here?" Ash telepath. "Yeah," replied Pikachu. "Well, I'm in love with Les," said Ash. "Oh, so you want to show her how much she matters to you," said Pikachu in understanding. "I wish I could find someone like that." "Perhaps someday you will, but for now help me find something she might like," replied Ash. It took Ash over 3 hours and numerous stores to find the perfect gift for Latias. It was expensive as heck, but once Ash showed the store owner what he was and explained why he wanted the item, the shopkeeper gave it to him at 1/4 of the cost. Ash thanked the man and swore him to secrecy before changing back into his human form and going on his merry way. As Ash was heading towards the Secret Garden to see Latias and Latios as well as Bianca and Lorenzo, he saw Latias running away from two members of Team Rocket that were following her in a speedboat with Espion and Ariados, with them launching attacks at her. This made Ash enraged and ordered Pikachu to blast the two Pokemon with Thunderbolt, forgot to add beforehand, my bad, knocking them both out in one go. Ash quickly grabbed Latia's hand and ran off with her to a more hidden area of Altimari. "Are you alright?" asked Ash with worry clearly written on his face. "Yeah, I'm alright," replied Latias with relief. "I would have taken care of them myself, but there were too many people around who would have seen me change forms." "So you and your brother have been doing some training while I was gone?" asked Ash. Latias puffed up her chest and said, "Of course. When you told us about that incident with a guy who tried to catch you, it made us realize that we seriously needed to improve our fighting prowess lest we wind up in a similar situation." "I'm glad to hear that," said Ash with relief, "but we need to be careful. I overheard those two talking about stealing the Soul Dew and you and your brother for Team Rocket as I flew overhead." "Then we best get ready for them," said Luz. "I'm sure they'll send some sort of severance camera to follow us to the Secret Garden, but once they find us they'll be in for one heck of a fight." "Good, and from what I gathered from their minds they know that you and your brother live here, but they think that the Latios they saw earlier was your brother, not me, so we have that to our advantage," said Ash. "Well, we best go let brother know what's going on," said Latias. "I'm sure you know the way?" "Well, of course, but let's just walk there. It's much easier to walk alongside people as cover than to hide away from them where Team Rocket can spot us with their tech," replied Ash. "Right, I sometimes forget that nothing can tell you apart from other humans, besides legendary Pokemon and very special places, while you are in your human form," said Latias as they headed back into the crowds. A half-hour later, Ash and Latias both made it to the Secret Garden and found a semi-worried Latios waiting for themselves. "Is everything all right?" asked Latios with worry. "Sadly no. Team Rocket are after both the Soul Dew and you too," answered Ash with anger. "But we have a plan to best them," added Latias. "Beat them with our powers?" inquired Latios. "You bet," said Ash eagerly, "but just what have you two learned since the last time I saw you two?" "We still haven't learned our signature moves yet, but we're getting close," answered Latios. "We've improved a lot since we started, but you're probably still stronger than we are even though we're older than you," added Latias. "Hey, yeah, you're probably right about that. But in the meantime, you guys want to see the Pokemon I've gathered so far?" replied Ash. "Sure, I love to meet new friends," replied Latias happily, "plus I've already seen your Pikachu, though where he's run off to is beyond me." "Same here," agreed Latios. "Oh, he's picking something up that I dropped when I ran to help you," replied Ash as he let out his current Pokemon. "Oh my, you found a shiny Pokemon," said Latios in amazement. "Knocked me right out of the air, he did. But I'm honored to serve a legendary," and his friend said Noctowl with pride. "Sounds just like Ash," laughed Latias. "Hey Latios, don't you know how to speak human?" asked Ash. "I thought I taught you how." "You did, but I prefer to speak like this when there are just Pokemon around or people I don't trust around me," answered Latios. "Of course, when I'm in disguise I speak human so as not to arouse suspicion." Pikachu soon arrived with Ash's package on his back and called out, "I'm back. I had a little trouble getting here, but everything's fine." "How'd you find us?" asked Latias. "I used my psychic powers to guide him," explained Ash, "plus he has his own psychic powers to guide him thanks to him coming from Alola." "That's neat, so what can he do?" asked Latios with interest. "Not much at the moment, but I plan on working with him on them," replied Ash. "Oh, well, I'm interested in seeing what he's capable of," said Latios. "Well, we should get ready for when Team Rocket arrives," said Latias. "Hey, where are Bianca and Lorenzo?" asked Ash. "They're on vacation in Kalos at the moment," answered Latias. "That's good. I don't want them to be in danger during all this," said Ash with a sigh of relief. "I agree. I'd hate to see them hurt," said Latias. So Ash, Latias and Latios made plans for when Team Rocket find their way into the Secret Garden from any of the entrances located around it. The main part of them was to have Ash and his Pokemon hidden from view and launch a surprise attack on them thanks to him being hard to detect while human and invisible. They weren't disappointed as Team Rocket members Anne and Oakley walked in through the main entrance with Jessie, James and Meowth behind. "Alright, spread out. those 2 Lotties should be around here somewhere, ordered N. And look for the Soul Dew as well, added Oakley. Well, we don't have to look far, said James in alarm, and he pointed ahead, 'cause there they are. The others looked and saw that both Latias and Latios were both hovering in front of them a few feet away with very angry expressions on their face. Don't worry your little head, neither of them must have any battle experience considering that Latias fled the moment she realized we knew what she truly was, mocked, and as she sent out her Pokemon of Espeon, Granbull and Houndour. Oakley followed suit and sent out her Pokemon of Ariados, Sharpedo and Garchomp. Jessie and James sent out their 2 Pokemon of Coughing and Ekans to help in any way they could. Which wouldn't be much compared to the far more powerful Pokemon that Anne and Oakley have. Seriously? You 2 only have 1 Pokemon each? Asked Anne in shock, and the boss spoke somewhat highly of you 3. Meowth's far stronger than our own at the moment, plus we haven't had to fight nearly as much as other low-ranked agents considering where we specialize, replied James. Either way, attack, yelled Oakley. Both Latias and Latios gave it their all and managed to deal quite a bit of damage before Ash had to intervene and blast all of Team Rocket's Pokemon out cold. I only thought that there were only 2 Lotties that lived here, exclaimed Anne in shock, plus I thought they didn't know how to fight back properly. They're my friends and I just so happened to be visiting them, and I'm the one who got them to learn how to properly defend themselves, said Ash in his native tongue, forcing Meowth to translate to the humans what he said. You must have been the Latios we saw flying overhead as we arrived at the city, realized Oakley. You're right, and none of you are getting out of here the same way you came in, said Ash just before he threw them all out of the garden with a powerful psychic into an awaiting Officer Jenny who arrested them immediately. That takes care of that, noted Latias with relief. But will they return? Pondered Latios with worry. Nah, I wiped the memories of how to find this place from their minds, assured Ash, and Pikachu left to go swipe their stuff as well. That's good to hear, said Latias. Now we can get some sleep, said Latios with a big yawn. Agreed, replied a very tired Ash. All 3 Lotties slept together in a huddle with Ash's Pokemon sleeping around them for some protection. The next morning Ash awoke with an odd felling in his lower regions and found that he was currently hard, very hard. What am I going to do about this? Ash asked himself. Something the matter? Asked Latios as he was already up. I have a slight issue, replied Ash as he pointed down south. I see. Well, I've had that happen a few times, so I'll help you out this one time, said Latios when he saw what Ash meant. The other option is to mate, but I know neither you or my sister are ready for that step yet. Ash suddenly turned a dark red from embarrassment from what Latios had just suggested, but kept his cool and followed him to a more hidden spot in the garden that had a running brook running through it. So what are we here for? Asked Ash. I'm going to show you how to mstriptee and relive that tension, answered Latios, who looked incredibly uncomfortable about it. Ash's blush deepened as he really didn't want Latios to show him how to do that. I'll just tell you how to do it, not show you how to, assured Latios. That's way too weird and uncomfortable for the both of us. Agreed, replied a slightly relieved Ash. After a very short summary of what to do, Latios quickly flew off to check on things and leave Ash to take care of himself. Ash followed Leisho's advice and eventually released his built-up tension and felt really good afterwards and cleaned himself in the running water. Latias in the meantime had smelled Ash's hormones and had heard what her brother said, but kept quiet as she realized Ash was reaching the right age for him to produce young and knew that she was the only one he would want. Latias also knew that in order for them to have a relationship with Ash, she would have to leave Altimari. Thinking about Ash and leaving with him? Asked Latios in a knowing tone as he came over. Yeah, but what about you? Replied Latias. I'm thinking of leaving as well, answered Latios. I know our father's soul is trapped in the Soul Dew, but another pair of Lotties could take over for us, ones that are more capable of defending it. I never thought you would want to leave, remarked Latias in shock. I've fancied the idea a few times, but it wasn't until we met Ash that I seriously thought about it, replied Latios. By this point they start hearing Ash's mms of pleasure thanks to their enhanced hearing until they hear him climax and stop. I think he's done, noted Latios with a smile on his face. Thankfully his Pokemon are all still asleep, noted Latias. Ash eventually returned with a look of bliss on his face and woke up his Pokémon and told them that while they're in Altimari that no training will be held. "So enjoy yourself?" asked Latias knowingly. "Yes," replied Ash in a low tone and a deep blush. Ash's Pokémon could still smell Ash's scent on him, but not as strongly as before he washed himself off. None of them wisely made any comments for risk of their own health. 4 days later, both Bianca and Lorenzo returned and were shocked to hear about Team Rocket's attempt to steal both the Soul Dew and the twins as well as the 2 new Lotties that had flown in the day before. They got to know the 2 new Lotties as both Latias and Latios were both leaving with Ash to do as he did and become trainers to hide themselves in human society. The 3 of them soon left and arrived in New Bark Town where Professor Elm was told about the situation and agreed to give them both a starter Pokémon and the rest of the required starting gear to both Latias and Latios, who took up names to blend in. Latias chose the name Sakura, after a famous anime character she liked, and Latios chose Sonic after a game character he fancied, and they both shared similar coloration. They also had a carry limit of 12 like Ash for the same reasons. The Ash, Sakura and Sonic all agreed that while Ash heads back to Pallet Town to wait and do some training, the other 2 will swoop around Johto, Kanto and Alola to gather some Pokémon for themselves. Ash found a very jolly Totodile on his way home and quickly added him to his team. Ash didn't have to wait long as Sakura and Sonic soon arrived in Pallet Town 5 days later with some new friends. Sakura had found a Chikorita, Staru, Pikachu and a Clefairy, as well as a Pokémon egg, while Sonic found a Cyndaquil, Abra, Magnemite and a Alolan Vulpix. "Where did you find that egg?" asked Ash when he saw Sakura holding one. "I found it on the side of the road near Grandpa Canyon," answered Sakura. "The nest it was in was abandoned, most likely due to the dig site nearby." "Well, I know we'll take good care of the Pokémon that's inside no matter what it is," said Ash happily. "Right," agreed Sakura and Sonic. The group spent 2 days in Pallet, relaxing when they weren't training. Thankfully, the other new trainers were still off traveling around Kanto, so they didn't know Ash was in Pallet Town at the moment. Once everyone was ready, Ash told them that the next region that they'll be visiting was Kalos, then Hoenn, then Sinnoh and finally Unova. Both Sonic and Sakura thought it was a good plan, but Professor Oak told them that if Ash wanted to compete in a league this year, he had to hurry up and not spend too much time in the other regions and pick which one he was going to compete in fast. Ash decided that after a quick swoop of the other regions that he'll stop in Unova and compete in the league there, but also told Pikachu that in order for them to go fast enough he'll have to stay in his Pokeball during the time between regions. Pikachu very much disliked the idea, but understood the reasoning behind it and grudgingly agreed. So Ash, Sakura and Sonic quickly made their way through the other regions and found some new Pokemon to add to their teams. They also split up a few times to find certain Pokemon that they wanted. Ash ran into an old friend called Serena when he visited Professor Sycamore's lab and picked up a rather picky Froakie and told her that he wished her good luck in whatever she chose to do. Ash also learned the basics of Draco Meteor while traveling through Sinnoh and meeting an old lady that taught dragon types the move and added a Dwebble that had been trying to teach itself the move for a while to his team as well. Eventually Ash, Sakura and Sonic all arrived in Unova with brand new Pokemon on their teams. Once they all landed in a more hidden area and transformed into their human disguises and walked out into the pier, large storm clouds gathered above them. "What's going on?" asked Sonic with worry. "Relax, it's just Zekrom coming to greet us," assured Ash. "Seriously? A bit much, don't you think?" asked Sonic. "Hail, young Ash," called Zekrom as he landed in front of the group. "Hi Zekrom, what brings you here?" greeted Ash. "There's a problem rising here in Unova and I need my hero of ideals to try to stop it," replied Zekrom. "If there is a problem, then we'll do whatever we can to help," said Ash with conviction. "I know you will," said Zekrom, "considering I've chosen you, Ash, as my hero." "What? But I'm a legendary just like you," exclaimed Ash in shock. Thankfully the pier was void of people so no one heard them speak. "Who said my hero had to be human?" replied Zekrom. "Besides, your ideals are very strong and could help solve the issue in a way that hasn't been done before." "What do you mean by that?" asked Sakura. "I mean the group that is responsible for the trouble that is brewing is supposedly run by a young man that can understand Pokemon's feelings, But his father is the true mastermind and has tricked the boy into thinking things are not the way they really are, explained Zekrom. That is why I chose you as my hero. Oh. When you put it that way, I guess it makes sense, said Ash after thinking it over. Right, now I will retreat into my orb form until the time is right, or something important comes up, said Zekrom right before turning into the black orb and landing at Ash's feet. Ash carefully picked up the orb and placed it in his backpack. Well, we better get going, we need to register so we can earn badges and compete in the league here, said Ash. I can't wait, said Sakura, and we have another legendary to help us out if things go bad. I want to see what Pokemon we all have while we headed off on our own before we came here, said Sonic. Let's get to Professor Juniper's lab first and register, then we can show off what Pokemon we have, said Ash. Good idea, agreed Sonic and Sakura. The three of them headed off to the lab and easily registered for the league, and also a new trainer named Trip who thought that Kanto and Johto were beneath Unova and called them the Boonas. The three legendaries resisted the urge to just drop their disguises and put him in his place, but instead Ash challenged him to a battle and won over his Snivy with Pikachu's psychic powers, much to the shock of Trip. Ash told him that his Pikachu hails from Alola and had inherited the trait that allows him to use psychic powers. So the group headed out on their adventure through the Unova region wondering what was the trouble that was brewing and who was behind it. Ash, Sakura and Sonic are seen walking along to their next destination, quickly realizing that they all forgot to buy or pick up a map of the region before leaving Professor Juniper's lab and the town it's located in. Ash, I think we're lost, said Sakura. If we keep following this road we should reach the next town at some point and get directions there, replied Ash, though he looked a little uncertain. Or we could ask a native for directions if we run into one before then, offered Sonic. The three hidden Lotties and Pikachu to a lesser extent then picked up the thoughts of a girl and a Pokemon in some nearby bushes. Who's there? Called Ash. We know you're there due to us being psychic. As Ash finished calling out, a dark-skinned girl with long purple hair stood up in a bush and whined, "Aw man. I had no idea any of you were psychic." Who are you? Asked Sonic. I'm Iris, introduced Iris, who then pulled out a small Pokemon from her hair, and this is Axu. Hi, greeted Axu. Aw, he's so cute, surveyed Sakura. Why were you spying on us? Asked Ash and Sonic. I saw some really dark clouds over the docks, and I knew that they had to belong to Zekrom, explained Iris, and I was right. I saw Zekrom come out of the cloud only to transform into its orb form. So I wanted to find out why it happened and figured that any new foreigners would know. How did you know that the cloud was from Zekrom? Asked Ash. I'm from the village of dragons. We know all about the legendary dragons from all over the world, answered Iris. Really? Asked Sonic and Sakura. We've never heard about that place. I've heard about it, a good friend of mine told me about it, said Ash, and some of my other friends know about it as well, just not as much. Who? Asked Sonic. They're natives here in Unova, answered Ash, and we might even bump into them at some point. They are the legendary Swords and Meloetta. Excuse me, but can we please get back to the conversation at hand? Asked Iris, who was annoyed that she was being ignored. Sorry Iris, apologized Ash. Yeah, sorry, added Sonic and Sakura. It's okay, I guess I mean you three are clearly friends who are obviously new around here, said Iris. Though it does seem that one of you have been here before. Yeah, my mom took me all around the world before I started my journey and I got to meet all kinds of Pokemon, said Ash. Well, in any case, seeing how none of you know where to go, how about I help you get to the next town? Offered Iris. Sure, agreed Ash, as long as Sakura and Sonic are all right with it. I guess so, said Sonic, who didn't seem too thrilled about it, seeing how we're slightly lost and all. I have no problem with it, added Sakura. Great, follow me, said Iris as she began leading the group to the next town. As the group was walking, Ash, Sakura, Sonic, and with a little help Pikachu had a telepathic conversation between themselves. What do you think of Iris? Asked Ash. From what I can gather, she'd flip if she found out that the three of us were legendary dragons and try to capture us, replied Sonic. Me too, but besides that she seems nice, added Sakura. If she tries anything she'll have to contend with me and the others, said Pikachu. Plus I have a move that's super effective on dragons, so she's out of luck there. I know, that disarming voice of yours is painful, said Ash. Coupled with your slowly growing psychic powers, there isn't much that will be able to resist your attacks. It's all thanks to you, replied Pikachu with gratitude. During all this Iris had noticed them not saying a word, but still made gestures as if they were and figured that they were speaking telepathically due to them being psychic, and felt a little left out. Ash and the others thought it was funny and silently began laughing about it, without Iris knowing. The group, being led by Iris, soon arrived near a resort with a sand spa. They also noticed that the Oshawott from Professor Juniper's lab had been following them ever since Ash noted how cool it looked. You seem to have a knack for water types, noted Sonic. I've never thought about that, I just think that most of them look really cool, replied Ash. What do you mean? Asked Iris. Ash here has 3 water types on his team currently, answered Sakura, and I think that a 4th one will be joining us shortly. That leaves only 1 more Pokemon for you to catch before they're sent to a lab, or wherever your new Pokemon go after catching one over your limit, noted Iris. Actually, the 3 of us are able to carry up to 12 Pokemon at once instead of the normal 6, said Ash. But beyond that, yes, any new Pokemon we get after 12 will go to Professor Oak's lab in Kanto. You're all from Kanto? Asked Iris. Ash is. We're from Altimari in Johto, corrected Sakura. You're from Altimari? Cried Iris. I read that it's home to the legendary Pokemon twins Latias and Latios. There's a large number of items and paintings and such dedicated to them, but no one has ever actually seen them, said Sonic. We, ourselves, have wanted to see them, but never did. Ash and Sakura thought it was funny what Sonic said, considering that he was talking about them as they were all Lotties, but kept it to themselves. I'd love to see them someday, said Iris. Maybe someday you will, you never know what the future holds, assured Ash, who wanted nothing more than not let Iris know the truth about him and the others. Excuse me, but could you help us with something? Asked a boy as he came running up. What's the problem? Asked Ash. There's a group of Sandile that keep disturbing our sand spa, answered the boy. Then let's go take a look, said Ash. Thanks, by the way, my name is Dan. Thank Dan, my father's the owner of the resort and spa. My name's Ash, and this is Sakura, Sonic and Iris as well as Pikachu, introduced Ash. The group soon saw that there was some damage that clearly had to come from the Sandile all over the place, mainly the sand spa. What do you think we should do? Asked Iris. First we should clean this mess up, and then try out the sand spa and wait for the Sandile to show up, then go from there, answered Ash. Sounds like a plan, said Sakura, but let's have our Pokemon out to help out. I was thinking the same thing, agreed Ash. Iris, Dan and his father were amazed by the large number of Pokemon that Ash and his 2 friends had. Ash explained that Professor Oak and Elm granted them the ability to carry up to 12 Pokemon instead of 6 due to them proving that they could handle taking care of them. Iris was also thrilled to know that Ash had a dragon type as well. Hey, isn't one of them a shiny? Asked Iris. You mean Noctowl? Yeah, he's a shiny Pokemon, replied Ash. That's so cool you found a shiny Pokemon. They're almost as rare as finding a legendary, said Iris. Well, either way, let's get this mess cleaned up, said Ash. After an hour, the group and their Pokemon managed to clean up the mess made by the Sandile. Ash then said that if they all go to enjoy the sand spa, that the Sandile should show up at some point. That's so childish, noted Iris, who then noticed that Ash, Sakura, Sonic, and a fair share of their Pokemon as well as Axu were all enjoying the sand spa. This led to Face Fault and join them. About a half hour later, the Sandile showed up. Ash quickly noticed that the leader of them was wearing sunglasses, just like how Wartortle did when he was the leader of the Squirtle Squad and still does to this day. Wartortle noticed as well and jumped out of the sand and glared at the lead Sandile through his pointed shades. This caused most of the Sandile to take a step back, but the leader stood his ground. You need to leave, this area isn't safe, growled the lead Sandile. What do you mean? Asked Wartortle with real concern on his face. A nearby hot spring is close to flooding and will flood this entire area, answered the Sandile. That's not good, noted Wartortle, but my trainer should be able to help, considering what him and 2 of his friends really are. What do you mean? Asked the puzzled Sandile. My trainer is secretly a Latios as well as the 2 others who are psychic. They just don't want to be bothered by trainer and... Hunters who'd love to catch them, explained Wartortle, and if you don't believe me you can ask them later. Ash at this point managed to telepathically speak to the Sandile and confirmed what Wartortle had said and assured him that he'll help. What's going on? Asked Iris. Apparently there's a hot spring nearby that's close to flooding and the Sandile have been trying to get everyone to get to safety, answered Ash. How'd you know? Asked Dan. Me, Ash and Sonic are psychics, so we can understand what Pokemon are saying, explained Sakura. That's so cool, said Dan. So what are we going to do? First, I'm going to have my water types check on the hot spring and see how close it is to flooding. In the meantime, we should start creating a channel to have the water come here where it can be used and not cause harm to the environment, answered Ash. I know the sand spa will be lost, but it'll be a hot spring instead. That's fine by me, said Dan's father. So as the group's water types checked on the hot springs, the rest of them began digging out a channel for the water to go down safely. It was fairly easy with help from the Sandyless and the fact Ash had a Dwebble who loved to dig. The water types soon returned in a hurry and said that the water was right behind them as the hot springs had flooded as they were heading there. Luckily the water flowed into the channel, thanks to the geography of the land, and soon filled the former sand spa, turning it into a hot spring. Ash though did manage to keep some of the sand spa safe by relocating some of it to the side, much to Charmeleon's joy as he is a fire type and enjoyed the sand spa. During all this the leader of the Sandyless was thinking about something. Ash picked up these thoughts with some difficulty as Sandile are part dark type and was intrigued by them. The group spent the rest of the day at the resort and spa and thoroughly enjoyed themselves there. As they went to leave the next day, the leader of the Sandile challenged Pikachu to a battle and was beaten by a strong Iron Tail, but was sent flying much to Ash's sorrow as he wanted to catch him. Ash however did manage to get Oshawott after calling Professor Juniper and getting his Pokeball. Ash then checked Oshawott's moves and saw that he knew Razor Shell, Water Gun, Tackle and Air Slash. Ash had Oshawott show him all its moves and saw that out of all of them Air Slash was by far the weakest move it had currently. Ash decided that some training was in order and wanted his water types to learn Scald after what happened at the resort and spa. The group is seen arriving at the edge of a large town, to which Ash asks, "Hey Iris, is this Striation City?" "No, it's the next town," answered Iris, "though there is a place called the Pokemon Battle Club here." "What's that?" asked Sonic. "It's a place where trainers battle each other," answered Iris. "It's a good way to test one's skills before taking on a gym. They also help trainers teach their Pokemon new moves and such." "Sounds like somewhere we should check out," said Ash. "I agree," replied Sakura and Sonic. The group soon reached the battle club and headed inside. "May I help you?" asked a gruff-looking man. "Yeah, I heard this place helps trainers teach their Pokemon new moves," replied Ash. "Of course it does. Here, let me show you," offered the man. "Who are you?" asked Sonic. "I nearly forgot. My name is Don George, the first own and run this place," introduced Don George, "and just like any Pokemon Center you find, each battle club is managed by my relatives." "That's neat," noted Sakura. "Hey, you three aren't from around here, are ya?" noted Don when he noticed Ash's Pikachu. "That's right, we're from Kanto and Johto," replied Ash as he gestured to himself and his two friends. "Well, now what move are you interested in having your Pokemon learn?" asked Don once he led the group to the training area. "I want to teach my water types the move Scald first, then go from there," answered Ash. "We're not sure," said Sonic and Sakura. "I'm just here to help them get around," said Iris, "but I guess there is one move I could have my Axu work on." "Which move is that?" asked Ash. "Dragon Rage, but it's nowhere near being mastered and just explodes in Axu's face each time," answered Iris with some sorrow and embarrassment. Well, I'll leave you 4B. The computer here will set up anything you need to help teach your Pokemon any moves you want, within reason of course," said Don. "This place isn't equipped for every move out there and some types aren't covered in the first place. That's for the other battle clubs." "Alright, well thanks for the help," said Ash. "Anytime, plus you should take on some of the trainers that are here once you're done," suggested Don as he left. "Alright, everyone come on out," said Ash as he sent out his Pokemon. Sakura and Sonic followed suit and they told each of their Pokemon what moves they were to learn. 3 hours later and everyone's Pokemon made great progress on learning the moves that they were told to learn. Iris had very little luck in getting Axu to master Dragon Rage, So instead she had him learn a different attack. Once the training was over, Ash and the others faced the other trainers that were currently in the battle club and did fairly well and won most of their battles. Ash during this noticed that Iris had another Pokeball on her waist and could sense some distrust coming from it and wondered what Pokemon was inside, but was going to wait until Iris said something first as not to pry. Sakura, however, also noticed and decided to find out and asked, "Hey Iris, I just noticed that you have a Pokeball on your waist that you haven't used yet. Why?" Iris paled a bit, but figured it was best to come clean and said, "Well, I may have gotten Axa back home in the Village of Dragons, but he's not my starter. That would be my Excadrill, but for some reason he doesn't listen to me anymore. We'll look into it later. For now let's get some sleep," said Ash when he noticed how dark it was outside and that Pikachu had fallen asleep. "I think sleep is a good idea," agreed Sonic. The three hidden Pokemon all got a room together, while Iris slept outside in a tree as she normally does. "So how's Unova for you two so far?" asked Ash. "It's been great so far," replied Sakura. "I haven't had any problems, though I dread the idea of Iris finding out what we really are," said Sonic. "Hopefully that doesn't happen, but either way good night," said Ash as he turned in for the night, quickly followed by the other two Lotties. They were still in their human forms as not to be caught off guard. Next morning the group headed back to the battle club to do one more day of training before setting out. During training the group saw a rather poor-looking Tepig that Sakura immediately helped out and was told that it was left behind by its former trainer due to him thinking that it was weak. Sakura then mentioned that some of Ash's Pokemon were also abandoned by their former trainers, but joined Ash thanks to how much Ash cares for Pokemon and also asked Tepig if it wanted to join here. Tepig thought about it for a bit, then nodded happily and was caught by Sakura. Sakura then checked what Tepig could do and saw that it did have some good moves for a low-leveled Pokemon, and though that the trainer who dumped Tepig was an idiot. She also used her telepathy to tell Tepig the truth about her, Ash and Sonic, much to the little Pokemon's shock and joy. Iris saw how easy it was for Ash, Sakura and Sonic to bond with their Pokemon and get along with them so well that it made her wonder where she went wrong with Excadrill. The three Lotties picked up on this and decided to help her when the time was right, but were willing to wait for her to ask for their help. The group have finally made it to Striation City and begin looking around and taking in the sights. Iris tries to remind them why they're here, but to no avail. As she begins to follow after Ash, Sakura and Sonic, a green-eyed haired man happens to walk by and takes note of Iris and the three trainers she's running after, before noticing that the three trainers aren't from Unova as one has a Pikachu perched on his shoulder. The man decides to do what he does best and see just how strong the bond and capability between these trainers is. Ash, Sakura and Sonic notice that they're being followed by someone who's mainly interested in them and their Pokemon as they're not from Unova, so they stop and confront the man. "Alright, what is it that you want?" asks Sonic. "How'd you know I was following you?" asks the man in shock as he thought they didn't know he was behind them. "The three of us are psychic, so it's easy to tell when we're being followed," explained Ash. "Iris, on the other hand, is just helping us get around Unova as she knows the region." "Oh, well, my name is Sillin. I'm a Pokemon connoisseur and one of the three gym leaders of the Striation City gym," introduced Sillin. "Pokemon connoisseur? I've never heard of those before," said Sakura. "Me either," added Sonic. "I've heard about them," said Ash. "They help determine the compatibility between trainers and their Pokemon." "That's correct," said Sillin. "Now are you three here for the badge?" "Yes, the three of us are," answered Ash. "Well, to let you know, our gym is also a restaurant and is currently having the lunch service, so if you want to have a gym battle you can either have lunch there or come back in an hour or two," said Sillin. "I think we'll eat there and be ready for the gym battle," said Ash. "Though, is the meal free since we're going to have a gym battle?" "Yes indeed, but if you lose you'll have to pay," answered Sillin, "and that's not including the money lost for losing in the first place." "Understood," said Ash. So the group followed Sillin to the gym and ordered a decent-sized lunch, considering they didn't want to go overboard and wind up spending more money than they had in case they lost. Eventually the group was done eating and Sillin came over and told them that the gym battle will begin shortly, but wanted to know if they wanted to have it be a battle between the three of them and the three gym leaders. Ash talked it over with Sakura and Sonic and they all agreed to the terms. This made Sillin rather pleased as it was a great way to see how good Ash and his two friends were at a tag battle, but figured that since the three of them were psychic, they most likely won't have much of an issue. The 3 trainers and 3 gym leaders took their places on the battlefield. "You guys ready?" asked Ash. "You bet, I can't wait to earn my first badge," replied Sakura eagerly. "Same here," added Sonic. "Alright, this will be a battle between Ash Ketchum of Pallet Town, Sakura and Sonic Jewel of Altimari against the 3 gym leaders of the Striation City Gym, Sillin, Cress and Chili," announced the referee. "Trainers, send out your Pokemon." The 3 gym leaders sent out a Pansage, Panpour and a Pansear, while Ash sent out Dwebble, Sakura sent out her Pikachu and Sonic sent out his Vulpix. "Oh my! I never thought I'd see a Alolan form here in Unova," said Sillin in shock. Iris immediately noticed that Sonic's Pokemon was an ice type and reacted as such and became rather nervous about it. "It doesn't matter." Pansear used Flamethrower, called Chili. Panpour used Mudshot, called Cress. Pansage used Bullet Seed, called Sillin. Powder Snow, called Sonic. Disarming Voice, called Sakura. Dragon Rage, called Ash. All the Pokemon sent forth their attacks, only for them to clash and implode, causing a large amount of smoke to form. Quick Use Dig, called the triplets. Dwebble, you use Dig as well, called Ash. Pikachu, get ready to use Attract, said Sakura. Vulpix, prepare an Icy Wind, called Sonic. Ash's Dwebble quickly found the 3 monkey Pokemon and knocked them out of the ground where Sakura's and Sonic's Pokemon were waiting with their chosen moves and fired at them, dealing a good chunk of damage. Pansear, use Flame Burst, yelled Chili. Panpour, use Water Pulse, called Cress. Pansage, use Energy Ball, called Sillin. The monkey Pokemon fired off their attacks, only for them to be sent back from the combined attacks of Ice Shard, Charge Beam and Incinerate from Ash, Sakura and Sonic's Pokemon. The damage that was dealt was too much for Pansear, who fainted, leaving the other 2 left in rather winded states. Panpour used Scald, called Cress. Pansage used Solar Beam, called Sillin. Counter It, called Ash, Sakura and Sonic at the same time. Their 3 Pokemon fired off their attacks in hopes of stopping the powerful Solar Beam. This didn't quite work as Panpour took the hit and nearly fainted, leaving poor Pikachu wide open for the Solar Beam and was knocked clean out. "All looks like I'm out," whined Sakura as she recalled her Pokemon. "Don't worry, we can still win," assured Ash. Pansage, charge up another Solar Beam, called Sillin. Panpour, use Aqua Ring and then Water Pulse, called Cress. "Stop them with Draco Meteor," called Ash, hoping that it'll end the match quick. Vulpix, cover Dwebble so he can fire it, called Sonic. "Stop them," yelled Cress and Sillin as they saw Ash's Dwebble begin to charge up the most powerful Dragon-type attack. Known that wasn't a legendary special attack. Sadly, this didn't work as Vulpix jumped in the way and took the counter-attacks aimed to stop the Draco Meteor, but fainted in the process. This, however, wasn't in vain as Dwebble successfully fired off its attack and nailed the 2 remaining monkey Pokemon and knocked them clean out. "Well, I was most certainly not expecting your Pokemon to know Draco Meteor this early," said Sillin as he came over. "He's been trying to learn and master it since before I got him," said Ash. "Exactly where did you find him?" asked Iris. "It was with this old lady that taught Draco Meteor to Dragon types in Sin," answered Ash. "And before you ask, I did go to Sinnoh for a short time before I came here to Unova." "Wow, it almost sounds like you've been everywhere," said Sillin with surprise. "Almost. We've been to a fair share of the regions. We wanted to gather a good team before we took on any gyms, but Professor Oak told us that we had to cut our plans short if we wanted to compete in a league this year," said Ash. "Oh wow, that sounds amazing," said Sillin. "And from what I can tell, the bond between you and your Pokemon is right on the money and very strong. So for showing us your bond and winning against the gym, I hereby present to you the Trio Badge." "Thanks," replied Ash, Sakura and Sonic as they each received their badges from Sillin. "Alright, let's get to the Pokemon Center and heal our Pokemon," said Ash. "Right," agreed Sakura and Sonic. As they headed to the Pokemon Center, the 3 Lotties noticed that a large amount of psychic energy was building up in the area, but didn't know what was causing it. "I wonder what's going on?" pondered Ash. "I'm not sure, but we better find out," said Sonic. "It won't bother me, will it?" asked Pikachu, who was able to detect the psychic energy to a lesser extent. No, it shouldn't, whispered Ash so no one could hear him. As the group had their Pokemon healed, Iris came running in with Axu in her arms, sound asleep and with a pink glow around him. Nurse Joy, please help. Strange pink light has began shining over the city, said Iris with worry. Hang on, that psychic energy enveloping Axu, said Ash. How do you know? Asked a woman in a lab coat who just ran into the Pokemon Center. Me and my two friends are psychic and noticed the psychic energy building up, but didn't know what to do about it yet, answered Ash. It's Musharna's dream mist, explained the lady as she sent out a Pokemon. Luckily Munna can counteract it. That's good to hear, said Ash as Munna ate the pink mist surrounding Axu. Once all of the mist was gone, Munna then showed everyone Axu's dream. It was about him evolving to his final form with Iris by his side, full of pride. That's so sweet, cooed Sakura. Yes it is, but we have a major problem on our hands, remember, said Ash. Right, said the others. The group headed outside where they saw a large amount of the pink mist in the air. Then an officer Jenny pulled up and told Ash that he needed to return Pikachu for its own safety. Actually, Pikachu hates being inside of his Pokeball, plus he has psychic powers that'll keep him safe, countered Ash. In fact, me and two of my friends are psychic as well. Oh, well then everything should be all right then, said Officer Jenny. Though if three of you are psychic, why didn't you say anything? We didn't know what was going on and we're going to check once our Pokemon were healed, answered Sonic. I see, good to hear, said Officer Jenny before she left. I know where this is coming from, follow me, said the lady that had the Munna. Who are you? Asked Sonic. My apologies, my name is Dr. Fennel. I used to work at a place that studied the power of Mushara's dream mist, introduced Dr. Fennel. Used to? What happened? Asked Sakura. I'll tell you on the way, replied Dr. Fennel. So as the group followed Dr. Fennel, she told them that while they were studying the dream mist, something happened and caused the entire complex to implode. Now the ruins are known as the Dreamyard. She also told them that she's been trying to find Mushara for some time, but with little luck. The closer the group got to the Dreamyard, the thicker the dream mist got. Pikachu slowly began feeling its effects, but managed to block it, unknowingly, with the move Safeguard. All right, we should look around and see what we can find, said Ash once they reached the Dreamyard. I think Mushara is inside the ruins, but I'm not entirely sure, said Sakura. All I know is I can sense a large amount of distress inside. Then it must be Mushara. It'd only make this much dream mist if it was, said Dr. Fennel. Then let's hurry and find out, said Ash. The group hurriedly ran inside and eventually found Mushara, and two people in odd attire demanding Mushara to make more dream mist and kick it. What do you think you are doing? Demanded Ash, who was enraged by how poorly Mushara was being treated. The two figures turned and saw three angry young trainers with their eyes blazing with immense psychic energy. It's none of your concern, said one of the two. I think otherwise, replied Ash. Then I guess we'll have to battle, said the strange man as he sent out a Woobat. The other man also sent out a Woobat. Ash in response had Pikachu take them both out with a Thunderbolt. The two men then ran off, leaving Musharna behind. Is Musharna all right? Asked Ash. I think so, answered Dr. Fennel as she checked Musharna over. A night at the Pokemon Center should take care of any injuries she has. That's good to hear, said Ash with relief. Who are those guys? Asked Sonic. They seemed a lot like Team Rocket back home. Who's Team Rocket? Asked Dr. Fennel. Ash, Sakura and Sonic explained who Team Rocket was and what their goal was. They sound like horrible people, said Iris in horror. They are, but there isn't much we can do. They're very good at hiding their tracks, sighed Sonic. Well, whoever we just stopped must have some crazy scheme planned, said Sakura. Hopefully we can stop them. I hope so, but let's not worry about it for now, said Ash. But if we ever see them again, we'll stop them. A few days have passed since Ash, Sakura and Sonic won the trio badge from Striation City and solved the mystery that accrued shortly after. Before they left, Iris and Sylin both officially joined the group, much to Sonic's ire, as he really didn't want another person joining them. The reason Sylin wished to join them was because he wanted to understand the strong bonds the group has their Pokemon better, as he's never seen bonds so strong before. The group decided to enjoy lunch sitting around a stump while Iris left to go get some food. She brought back a small basket of fruits and berries for everyone to enjoy. Now hold on, I can whip up something wonderful with these, said Sylin as Ash, Pikachu and Sakura grabbed an apple to eat. About 20 minutes later, Sylin had created a batch of small cakes and other sweets for the group. Thanks, Sylin, said Ash right before he began eating one of the cakes. Wow, this is good. Really, let me try, said Sakura as she also grabbed a cake and bit into it. Hey, you're right, this is good. I'm glad you all like it, said Sylin happily. Hey, where is the rest of the food? Asked Iris when she went to get more. Huh, said Ash in confusion. All the food's gone, said Iris. Sonic, any ideas? Asked Ash. A rather strong female Snivy snuck in and swiped the food when we weren't looking, answered Sonic. Sakura, I'd advise you go after her. I think that Snivy knows a tract. Gotcha, replied Sakura. But wait, I already have 3 Pokemon that know a tract, plus I have more Pokemon than you, so you should catch her. Alright, then I'll catch her, agreed Sonic. The group quietly tracked down the Snivy and found her eating one of the cakes. Alright, Snivy, now you're going to get it, said Sonic as he sent out his Vulpix. Vulpix used payback. The Snivy deftly avoided the attack before firing of her attract, however due to Vulpix being a female as well it didn't work. Now use Charm and then Tackle, called Sonic. Snivy suddenly grinned as the charm took effect before going in with a powerful leaf blade, knocking Vulpix out and running away. Contrary, dang, I didn't expect that, said Sonic as he returned Vulpix. Should have gone with her ice-typed attacks there, said Ash. Would have won the battle that way. I know, Ash, I just didn't want to cause damage that wasn't needed, replied Sonic. Well, you tried. Best move on, said Sylin. No way, I'm going to catch that Snivy, retorted Sonic. But it's gone, we have no idea where she went, argued Iris. Me, Sakura and Sonic are psychic, we can find her easily, said Ash the deadpanned look. Oops, sorry, I forgot about that, said Iris sheepishly. The group quickly caught up to the Snivy while she was taking a nap among some rocks. This time I have you, said Sonic as he sent out his Magnemite. Use Lock-On and Charge Beam. Snivy was in trouble, and she knew that as she had nothing that was effective against the floating magnet. But she wasn't going to let that stop her as she fired off a Leaf Storm to counter the Charge Beam. Better end this quick, the more she uses that move the stronger it'll be, warned Ash. Use Magnet Bomb, called Sonic, then go in with Spark. Snivy got hit by the no-miss move before getting rammed into by an electrified tackle from Magnemite. Snivy leered at Magnemite before firing off another Leaf Storm that was stronger than the last one. Protect Magnemite, called Sonic, then use Thunderbolt. Magnemite blocked the attack easily before blasting Snivy with its Thunderbolt, dealing a large amount of damage. However, Snivy wasn't down just yet, as she used Vine Whip to knock back Magnemite before using Synthesis to regain some health. Dang, she's a tough one, noted Ash. Ya brother might have some trouble catching her, agreed Sakura. Magnemite used Lock-On then Thunderbolt, called Sonic. Snivy fired off another Leaf Storm as Magenemite sent forth a blast of Thunderbolt. Both attacks hit dead with both Pokemon being left on their last legs. Go Pokeball! Yelled Sonic as he threw a Pokeball at Snivy, hitting her atop her head. Snivy struggled for a bit before being caught, much to the group's joy. Alright, I caught a Snivy, cheered Sonic. Let's see what moves she has, said Ash as he scanned the Pokeball with his Pokédex. Says she has the moves, Attract, Leaf Blade, Leaf Storm, Tackle, Leer, Synthesis, and Vine Whip, reads Sakura. Not a lot of type diversity there. Don't worry, by the time we get to the league I'll have fixed that, assured Sonic. Hope so, though from what I've read the Snivy line doesn't learn many moves that aren't grass-typed, said Ash. Having a bunch of moves with different types isn't a guarantee that you'll win a battle, said Sonic. I never said that, I was saying the more types a Pokemon knows the more situations they're able to handle, defended Ash. Alright, that's enough you two, said Sakura as she stepped between them. No need to try to be the alpha here. Sorry, apologized Ash and Sonic. Boys can be so childish, joked Iris. Hey, complained Ash, I am not childish. Ash, the reaction only proves it, deadpanned Sonic. Ash face-bombed in embarrassment. Everyone started laughing a little at Ash's embarrassment. A few days later the group is having practice battles to strengthen up their Pokemon. Ash, however, is training his Pokemon as he doesn't have a partner to practice with. Sonic vs Sakura. Alright, Abra use Ice Punch, called Sonic. Clefairy use Protect, then Shock Wave, countered Sakura. Abra moved in to hit Clefairy with a Frozen Fist, but was blocked by a green barrier before getting hit by a quick jolt of electricity. Quick use Teleport to get some distance before using Energy Ball, called Sonic. Use Shock Wave to keep it on its toes, called Sakura. Abra constantly had to keep teleporting to avoid getting shocked, but while he was doing that Abra was powering up its Energy Ball and was able to fire it after the 6th teleport and nailed Clefairy for a solid amount of damage. Abra then started glowing and evolved into Kadabra. Quick use Metronome and hope you get a strong attack, called Sakura with worry. Clefairy quickly used Metronome and a move that no one knew what it was, but Clefairy blasted Kadabra with a Pillar of Light, its Photon Geyser, that knocked Kadabra out cold. The only thing Ash, Sakura and Sonic knew was that the move was a Psychic-typed attack, but what Pokemon could use the attack they had no idea. Sillin vs Iris. Alright, Panzage use Bullet Seed, called Sillin. Axe a dodge and go for a scratch, ordered Iris. Panzage fired a small volley of seeds at Axu, who couldn't avoid the powered-down version of the attack and started crying from the little damage it took. I think that's enough training for today, said Iris as she comforted her Pokemon. You know, I read somewhere that trainers who want to raise dragons have to be tough, but personally I think that's a bunch of bull, said Ash from where he was. Just then Sakura's Clefairy hit the recently evolved Kadabra with a Pillar of Light, knocking it out cold, giving Sakura the win. What in the world was that move? Asked Sillin with a written on his face. I have no idea. All I can say is that it's a powerful Psychic-typed attack, replied Ash in awe. We should look into that attack when we get into town, suggested Sonic after he recalled his Pokemon. Good idea, agreed Ash and Sakura. Well, let's eat before we do anything, said Sonic. Ash's stomach growled in agreement, much to everyone's amusement. The group climbed up some fruit trees to eat. While everyone was eating, with Axu kindly bringing fruits over for everyone, Iris told the group how she got Axu from the Elder of the Village of Dragons and was tasked with bringing out Axu's power. That's a big thing to ask someone, said Ash. How long ago was this? A little over a month, answered Iris. Well, there's nothing to worry about then, said Ash. Axu is still young and not used to battles yet. Just give it some time, Iris, there's no need to panic. Thanks, I guess, said Iris. We may actually need to panic, said Sonic suddenly. Why? Asked Ash nervously. Axu just fell and got stuck in the horns of a Scolipede, answered Sonic. We need to move fast if we're to save him. Everyone jumped to their feet and ran as fast as they could to save Axu from his predicament. That Scolipede looks angry and powerful, noted Sonic when they arrived to the scene. Pikachu, try to get Axu to safety with your confusion. Use Nasty Plot first if you need to, called Ash. I'll try, replied Pikachu as he tried to get Axu to safety. However, the Scolipede was moving around too much for him to get a good grip on Axu. Nope, not working. We need to knock this guy out or something before I can save Axu. Great, that plan didn't work, said Ash. We're going to have to beat Scolipede before we can do anything else. I don't know if any of our Pokemon can take it on though, Ash, said Sakura. We don't have much choice in the matter right now, yelled Ash. Send everyone out and attack. Ash, Sakura, Sillin and Sonic sent out all the Pokemon they had and told them to attack the Scolipede, but be careful of hitting Axu as he's stuck in the horns. Iris wasn't sure what to do, as the only other Pokemon she has doesn't listen to her anymore. Iris, we need your help. Don't you care about Axu's well-being? Yelled Sonic. I do, yelled Iris. It's just that Excadrill doesn't listen to me. Just send him out already, yelled Ash as he avoided a toxic from Scolipede. Please help me. I know I did something wrong to upset you, but right now I need you, Iris told Excadrill as she held her starter's Pokeball before sending him out. Excadrill appeared among the group's Pokemon and quickly took note of the situation and attacked the Scolipede head-on. Wow, that Excadrill looks just as strong as Scolipede, noted Ash. We may just win this, said Sakura. We might, but we need to keep up the advantage, said Sonic. It took some teamwork, but the group was able to take down the Scolipede and save Axu. Ash suggested either Sonic or Iris capture the Scolipede. Sonic was the one who caught it in the end as Iris is training to become a Dragon Master. "Oh, thank goodness," said Iris with relief as she held Axu close to her. "Thank you, Excadrill, and I'm sorry if I made you angry with me." "Humph, that's not the problem," said Excadrill as he turned away from Iris. Iris, I don't think he's angry with you. I think it's something else," noted Ash. "Tell me, when did Excadrill start disobeying you?" asked Sillin. "I may be able to figure out the problem." "She made a very bad call in an important battle against her mentor Drayden a while back, and it cost us big time," said Excadrill as he crossed his arms. Ash, Sakura and Sonic pinched the bridge of their noses as they now knew that the problem was Excadrill doubted Iris's skill as a trainer. Sillin also made this conclusion after Iris told him how she lost her match against Drayden the way she did. "Well, do you know where I went wrong?" asked Iris. "I think the problem is that Excadrill doubts your skill as a trainer, Iris," answered Sillin. "Which means that you have to work with Excadrill and him that you know what you're doing," added Sonic. "I was going to say that," complained Ash. "Too bad I said it first," replied Sonic as he stuck his tongue out at Ash. Ash warned Sonic that he better be ready for him once Iris and Sillin are asleep as he's coming after him telepathically. Sonic started sweating a little when he heard that, but only Ash and Sakura knew why. "Sillin, what should I do?" asked Iris. "Learn and grow as a trainer and show Excadrill that you know what you're doing," answered Sillin. "That's all I can suggest you do right now." "Well, Excadrill, are you willing to let me show you that I can get better?" Iris asked her Pokemon. "Humph, maybe," replied Excadrill as he glanced back to her. "I think you're going to have to let him watch you train so he can see you get better," said Ash. "I'm sure once he deems you've improved enough he'll come around. Until then he should train with our Pokemon to help them get stronger, as well as Axu," added Sakura. "That way he stays in shape." "I guess if that's what you think I should do," agreed Iris. "Good to hear," said Sonic. Later that night, once Sillin and Iris were asleep, Ash came over to Sonic and woke him up. "What is it, Ash?" "I'm trying to sleep," complained Sonic. "I'm going to get you back for that cheek earlier," said Ash, "but I couldn't do that with Iris and Sillin awake." "Ugh, fine, but let's avoid any flashy moves," said Sonic as he reverted to his natural form at the same time Ash did. The two Latios flew up into the sky where they'd have plenty of space to maneuver around easier. "You ready, Sonic?" asked Ash as he flexed his claws. "As ready as I'll ever be," replied Sonic, before he had to roll to the side to avoid Ash's high-speed Zen headbutt. "Hey!" yelled Sonic. "What?" "I asked if you were ready," replied Ash cheekily. "That's it, no more Mr. Nice Mon," said Sonic as he fired off an icy wind at Ash, who easily avoided the attack and came charging in with a Dragon Claw. Sonic quickly countered the move with his own Dragon Claw, but had to duck a shadow ball Ash fired off at close range. "Stay still," yelled Ash before he fired off a Thunderbolt at Sonic, who used Protect to avoid taking any damage. "No thanks, I'd like to stay in one piece, thank you very much," replied Sonic as he used Dragon Breath at Ash, who blocked it with his own. "Avoid this then," said Ash as he combined Shock Wave and Thunder Wave and sent the attack after Sonic. "Crap, got to avoid that," said Sonic. "Good luck that move doesn't miss," called Ash with a grin. "Perhaps, but I can do this," said Sonic as he activated Safeguard just as the attack hit. "Dang it, now I can't cause any status effects," whined Ash, "but no matter, I can still win." "Oh, how?" asked Sonic. "Like this," said Ash before he fired off a large and fast ice beam right at Sonic, who barely threw up Protect to avoid taking any damage. "Dang it all, just how many moves do you know?" complained Sonic. "A lot more than you do," replied Ash before he began powering up a Hyper Beam. "Oh come on," complained Sonic right before he dive bombed to avoid getting hit by the attack, but was hit on his rear end and started falling due to the pain the attack dealt him. Ash quickly flew in and caught him before anything bad could happen, and once the two were on the ground, started using Heal Pulse to heal Sonic. "Well, looks like you win this time, Ash," said Sonic tiredly. "Yeah, well, at least I know my Hyper Beam is almost mastered," replied Ash. "But let's get to bed, it's getting late." "Agreed," replied Sonic as they applied their human forms. Iris and Sillin were none the wiser to what was going on above them that night, but Sakura was, as she watched the entire thing. Almost a week has passed since Sonic got Scaloped and Ash is itching for a battle at the nearby battle club. How much further until we get there? Whined Ash. I want a battle now. It's about 10 minutes away, Ash. Relax already, answered Sylin, who was getting a little tired of Ash's constant whining. Ash, chill alright, said Sakura. We all want to go there, but your constant whining is driving us all batty. Ash grumbled for a bit, but remained quite the rest of the way. Instead, he worked on his psychic powers by levitating a large amount of rocks around him, though anyone could see that he was a little agitated by how he was walking and muttering stuff under his breath. Once the group arrived, Ash moved the rocks to the side out of the way before dropping them so no one would trip over them before running inside. Whoa, slow down there, called Don George from his place behind the counter. It's nowhere near closing time. Sorry, I've been itching to have a battle here since I found out this place was here, apologized Ash just as the rest came in. Ash, you're such a little kid, mocked Iris. Blee, replied Ash as he stuck his tongue out at her. Oh yeah, that's real mature, Ash, said Sonic as he rolled his eyes. Whatever, replied Ash before turning back to Don George. Is anyone available to battle right now? Well, let me see, said Don George. Yes, there are a few trainers available right now. Here, take a look. The group looked at the screen and saw a list of trainers who currently were waiting for a battle. Ash noticed a name on the screen and asked, Hey, is it possible to see what the trainers have on their team? Why, yes, indeed you can, answered Don George. Just head over to one of the other computers and look them up. Thanks, replied Ash as he went over to do just that. Who you looking for? Asked Sylin. A trainer named Trip, answered Ash. I met him just as he was starting his journey. He was a JRK thinking that just because I come from Kanto that he's better than me. I take it didn't go well, said Sylin. Nope, Pikachu beat his Snivy pretty quickly thanks to his psychic powers he inherited from Alola, answered Ash. I take it he didn't take well, asked Sylin. Nope, he was pretty upset about it, answered Ash. He claimed that the next time we meet he was going to win. And you want to prove him wrong on that? Asked Iris. That's right. All he knows is that I have Pikachu so far, answered Ash. He hasn't seen any of my other Pokemon yet, so he has no idea how to counter them. Couldn't he just look you up in the database? Asked Iris. Everyone is in there. Some of mine, Sonic and Sakura's information is classified, so what people will see isn't a clear picture, explained Ash. The only Pokemon they'd see are the ones used in either a competition or someone like Professor Juniper, Officer Jenny, or a gym leader puts it on our profile. Why is your information classified? Asked Iris. Iris, you really think they're going to tell you? Asked Sylin. Were their friends right? Asked Iris. True, but there are some things even friends keep from each other, replied Sylin. Iris huffed and walked off for a bit. Well, in any case, let's set a battle between me and Trip, said Ash as he put in his request. Hey Ash, what do our profiles say? Asked Sakura. Look them up, it shouldn't be that hard, answered Ash as he got up. Anyway, I'm going to get ready to face Trip again. Sonic and Sakura looked and saw that most if not all of their Pokemon were unknown. Their profiles did mention how many Pokemon they currently had. Huh, what do you know, Ash was right, noted Sonic. Well, I guess he can be correct on some things, said Sakura. Let's go see him face off against Trip before we have our own battles, suggested Sonic. Well, of course, we need to be there to support him, after all we are his friends, agreed Sakura. The two caught up to Ash, Iris and Sylin where they found Ash already on the battlefield ready to fight Trip. I'm going to show you that a boonie has no place here in Unova, said Trip. Keep on talking trash, Trip. I'm not listening, said Ash. I'm here to battle, not exchange insults. PFF whatever, said Trip. Alright, the 3-on-3 battle between Ash Ketchum and Trip will now commence, announced Don George. Alright, Servine, take the field, called Trip as he sent out his starter Pokemon. Ash smirked and said, Come out Charmeleon, as he sent out his Pokemon. So Charmander was your starter, noted Trip. Wrong. Pikachu is my starter, corrected Ash. I just got lucky and encountered all 3 of the Kanto starter Pokemon after they were abandoned by their former trainers and took them in, not to mention the other starter Pokemon I've found since then. Servine used Leaf Tornado, called Trip. Counter it with Inferno, countered Ash. Then move in and use Air Cutter. Servine sent forth a strong twister of leaves, but it was burned to a crisp by Charmeleon's far more powerful attack. Servine dogged out of the way of the inferno, but was caught off guard when Charmeleon jumped into the air towards it and created spinning blades of air between its claws before tossing them like a ninja, hitting it dead on and doing a good amount of damage. Fire Fang, called Ash. Glare it while it's still in the air, countered Trip. Stop that with smokescreen, called Ash. Charmeleon created a massive cloud of smoke that prevented Servine from getting him in its glare. Servine looked around frantically to see where Charmeleon was before getting chomped on by a set of blazing fangs from behind and fainting. Looks like I get the first win, said Ash when the smoke cleared enough for everyone to see the outcome of the last engagement. No matter, I will still win, said Trip as he recalled his Pokémon. Tranquil, take the stage. Charmeleon, let someone else have a turn, said Ash. Alright, replied Charmeleon as he moved next to Ash. Alright Noctowl, it's your turn, said Ash as he sent out his shiny Pokémon. What, you have a shiny Pokémon? Demanded Trip. How the heck did you catch that? With extreme luck, answered Ash. I was able to catch him off guard and catch him in one fell swoop. Lucky be #% and red, swore Trip. Dude, language, said Sonic. Tranquil, use quick attack now, ordered Trip. Noctowl, use confusion to stop that and toss it away, called Ash. Double team it, countered Trip. Tranquil moved at a fast pace before making 4 copies of itself to avoid being targeted by Noctowl's confusion. It worked until Tranquil got within 5 feet of Noctowl, who blasted it, knocking it back quite a ways. Noctowl, use foresight so you don't lose track of it, called Ash. Then after that use Steel Wing. Tranquil, use Wing attack, countered Trip. The two birds clashed a few times, but when it looked like Tranquil might actually come out on top thanks to its ability Super Luck, Ash told Noctowl to use Roost to recover before striking out with a confusion-enhanced gust. Tranquil was put on its last legs after that attack. Tranquil, use Pluck, ordered Trip. Counter it with Peck, called Ash. Noctowl was able to move faster and nail Tranquil, knocking it out and giving Ash his second win in the battle. Frillish, come out here and win this for me, said Trip as he switched his Pokémon around. Noctowl, come on back so our last partner can take the stage, said Ash. Alright, I had my fun for now, replied Noctowl as he flew over to Ash's side. Pikachu, it's your time to shine, said Ash. I hear ya, bud, said Pikachu as he jumped onto the field. That rodent again? Asked Trip. Okay, just because Pikachu is known as the mouse Pokémon doesn't give you the right to insult him, said Ash as his eye twitched a bit. Whatever, at least now I have a way to stop his little tricks, said Trip. We'll see about that, said Ash. Frillish, use Trick Room, called Trip, then use Water Pulse. Pikachu, use Protect, then Nasty Plot and Thunderbolt, countered Ash. Frillish quickly made an area where faster Pokémon now moved slower and slow Pokémon moved faster before firing off a large orb of water at Pikachu, who easily blocked the attack before powering himself up and send out a massive blast of electricity at Frillish. Quick Protect, called Trip. Frillish was just barely able to block the attack and maintain its Protect due to the sheer power behind Pikachu's Thunderbolt. Pikachu used Shockwave, called Ash. Frillish used Water Pulse to counter it, called Trip. Quick use Dig to avoid that, called Ash as he knew due to Trick Room Frillish will move faster than Pikachu. Pikachu quickly dove underground, but not before being clipped by Frillish's Water Pulse, and sent out a quick jolt of electricity out at Frillish that hit it dead on. However, Frillish's ability Cursed Body activated, disabling Pikachu's use of Shockwave for a bit. Not that it bothered Pikachu too much as he knows plenty more electric attacks he can use. Frillish used Double Team, then Hydro Pump, ordered Trip. Pikachu, jump out and use Psybeam and Thunderbolt all around you, called Ash. Fiish created 10 copies of itself before blasting the hole Pikachu was in with Hydro Pump. However, Pikachu used Protect as he leaped out of the hole and blasted all the copies and the original with his combo move, leaving Frillish down to his last leg. Curse you, Ash, I can still win this, snarled Trip. I think not, said Ash. Pikachu used Quick Attack and Spark to end this, and throw in Faint just for good measure. Protect against that and then use Ring Out, ordered Trip. Frillish wasn't able to hit Pikachu with Ring Out, nor block Pikachu's attack as Faint allowed him to get past Protect and take Frillish out. And the winner is Ash Ketchum. Announced Don George. What an impressive display of strategy and power. I will win against you, Ash Ketchum, I swear it, snarled Trip as he recalled his Pokemon and stormed out of the building. Everyone watched Trip leave thinking how much of a poor sport he was. Out of the trainers present, one of them wanted to test a Pokemon he recently got against Ash's Pokemon, as they were apparently very strong, just what he looks for to test himself and his Pokemon with. Ash, Sakura and Sonic picked up on this trainer's thoughts as they were psychic. Anyone else want a battle? Asked Ash. A few hands went up from the crowd signaling that they wished to fight Ash. Great, just let me heal up my Pokemon and we can get started, said Ash happily. The other trainers went on to have their own battles or go train their Pokemon. This included Iris, Sylin, Sonic and Sakura. Out of the 9 trainers, besides the one particular one that wanted to fight Ash, Ash won 8 of them, with the last one being extremely close. Soon it was time for the last trainer came onto the field. So what's your name? Asked Ash. The name's Paul, replied Paul. Alright Paul, where are you from? Asked Ash. I can see you're not from Unova. Veilstone City in Sin, answered Paul. And you? Pallet Town in Kanto, answered Ash. What are you doing here in Unova then? Asked Paul. I can tell you're a rookie trainer. Shouldn't you be taking on the Indigo League? Annoying twins who think that just because they're related to Professor Oak that they are the greatest thing in the world, answered Ash. What about you? Shouldn't you be in Sinnoh if we're following your logic? I plan on going there soon, answered Paul. There are some Pokemon I want to have so that I have a better chance at winning and surpassing my older brother. I see, and how do you treat your Pokemon? Asked Ash. Because while it's okay to be hard on them, you can only go so far before it's considered abuse and you can lose your Pokemon forever because of it. Why do you ask? Asked Paul with a slightly nervous feeling in his gut as he had seen that Ash was psychic from his battle against another psychic trainer. Just a heads up, replied Ash. I'm not stupid, Paul. While your view on wanting incredibly powerful Pokemon is tolerable and something I can overlook, it's how you're going on about it that gives me concern. How I raise my Pokemon is not for you to decide, said Paul. I wasn't, but don't go around telling other trainers how to raise theirs either, said Ash. Let's just settle this with a 2-on-2 battle, said Paul. Fine by me, agreed Ash. Go Elekid, called Paul. Interesting, noted Ash. All right, go Dwebble. Smart move, using a ground type to nullify my Pokemon's electric attacks, noted Paul. But like any good trainer knows, typing isn't everything, replied Ash with a smirk. Now Dwebble used Sandstorm to hide. Elekid used Swift, called Paul, who didn't particularly like having to use a weak attack, but it was the only move that would hit Dwebble currently reliably. Dwebble used Dig to avoid that and then go in with Takedown, called Ash. Hit it with Low Kick when you get the chance, countered Paul. Dwebble deftly avoided the incoming stars by going underground before bursting out of it and hitting Elekid hard, but it allowed it to knock Dwebble back with a swift Low Kick. Quick use Dragon Rage, called Ash. Use Protect to block it, countered Paul, then use Brick Break and Quick Attack. Aksu, quick pay attention, said Iris from her place in the audience. You might learn something about using Dragon Rage. Aksu poked his head out to watch how Dragon Rage was done, and was jaw-smacked by how more powerful it was than his own. Elekid was barely able to keep his Protect up from the attack due to the sheer level of power it held behind it. All right, Dwebble, show them what you can do before they can recover, called Ash. Got it, replied Dwebble as he began gathering energy for his most powerful attack, Draco Meteor. There is no way your Pokemon knows that move, said Paul in disbelief and a little fear. Oh, but he does, said Ash a little smug. He was teaching himself it when I met him. He still hasn't fully mastered it yet, but he's dang well near. Dwebble quickly began powering up his attack while Paul ordered Elekid to use Evade or use Protect against the powerful attack. A few seconds later and Dwebble successfully fired off his Draco Meteor into the air, where it burst into a shower of small meteors that devastated the battlefield and took out poor Elekid, who was unable to defend itself against the attack, nor avoid it. Given the situation, I'd say Elekid did as well as I hoped he did, but there is plenty room for improvement, said Paul as he returned his Pokemon. Yeah, that Elekid of yours is strong, I'll give you that, and he likes to battle a lot, which is a good thing, agreed Ash. Well, now let's see if my second Pokemon can meet my standards, said Paul as he switched his fallen Pokemon for a Chimchar. A Chimchar, eh? It appears as though he has a hidden strength, noted Ash. Well then let's see how he fares against my Pokemon that also has a hidden strength, go Froakie. So your Pokemon has a power laying dormant as well? Asked Paul, who was impressed by this news. Perhaps now Chimchar can unlock it in this battle. Maybe, we'll have to see, said Ash. Froakie use Pound. Use Flame Wheel, ordered Paul. Froakie moved very fast and landed a solid punch on Chimchar while deftly avoiding being hit by his Flame Wheel. Froakie use Bubble now that you're at close range, called Ash. Stop that with Flamethrower, countered Paul. Chimchar easily broke through the bubble and nailed the surprised Froakie hard, and did a fair amount of damage to him as well. But being a water type meant that the damage was less than what it could have been. Alright, Froakie use Rock Smash, called Ash. Dig to avoid that, called Paul. You use Dig as well, Froakie, don't let him get away, called Ash. Chimchar dove underground to avoid getting hit, but was surprised when Froakie came after him and punched him out of the ground. Chimchar though took the initiative and used furry swipes on Froakie and caused an equal amount of damage to him. They're pretty equal so far, noted Ash, but we're not going to lose, Froakie used Scald. Use Flamethrower to counter it, ordered Paul. Use all of your power to break through it and win this. Froakie don't let them, called Ash. Froakie and Chimchar fired off their attacks, which stalemated for almost a minute before Chimchar ran out of steam and wound up getting hit by Froakie's Scald, which had lost a lot of its power from the stalemate but was enough to earn Ash the win. You are one of the better trainers I have faced, Ash Ketchum. I look forward to facing you again, said Paul as he recalled Chimchar. You better not slack off, for I'm going to keep pushing my Pokemon to the best they can be. You better do the same. Oh, don't worry about that, Paul. I'm going to make it to the top, replied Ash with a grin. So of course I'm going to do everything in my power to make sure they're as strong as they can be. Good, now I best get going, said Paul as he turned to leave. Later that night, after Sylin and Iris had fallen asleep, Ash, Sonic, and Sakura stayed up so that they could train without being seen. So Ash, what are we going to do tonight? Asked Sakura. Well, first off, start you two on learning your special move, then after that one of the moves that I know and mastered, answered Ash. So no Draco Meteor. Apu, complained Sakura. Sis, we're not ready for that move yet, said Sonic. Alright, so which move do you want me to teach you? Asked Ash. Well, how about Thunderbolt? Asked Sakura. I already know Shockwave, so it can't be that much harder to learn, right? I think I'll like to learn Swift, said Sonic. I don't have a move with near perfect accuracy yet. Alright, replied Ash. Well, let's start with me teaching you how to summon up the energy to use your special move first, then work on teaching you those two moves. By the end of the night, Sakura and Sonic learned how to summon the correct energy to use their attacks, but that was it. They had better luck learning the moves they wanted to have Ash teach them, with Sonic learning Swift fairly easily as it's a simple move, while Sakura still needs a little more time before she learns Thunderbolt. Ash himself mastered his Hyper Beam attack and almost mastered Psyshock. A few days after Ash fought both Trip and Paul, the group was taking a break from training by having lunch. Man, Ash, I just can't get over how much you push your Pokemon sometimes, said Iris as they ate. I might push my Pokemon to their limits, but I let them have just as much fun, Iris, don't forget that, said Ash. Hey, what's going on over there? Asked Sakura as she pointed off to the side. Let's go see, said Ash as he went to look. The group saw a small bug Pokemon looking around for something. What Pokemon is that? Asked Sonic. Here, let me, said Ash as he pulled out his Pokédex. Says here that it's a Dwebble, so it must be looking for a rock to turn into its home. Ah, that's cool, said Sonic. I wonder how long it'll take. Not long apparently, it just found one, said Sakura. Indeed, the Dwebble did find a rock to turn into its home, but once it was about to go inside it, 3 other Dwebbles appeared and stole the first one's rock and put it on top of the largest ones before running off. Well, that wasn't very nice, deeply growled Ash. Ash, you alright? Asked Iris. You sounded a little strange there. Huh, replied Ash. What are you talking about? Never mind, said Iris. We should do something to help Dwebble. Yes, indeed, agreed Sylin, and I think I should be the one to do so. Why? Asked Sakura. Because if I help it, I might get a new Pokemon, answered Sylin. I only have one Pokemon currently, if you don't remember. Oh, that's right, you only have Pansage right now, said Ash. Right, and as much as I enjoy having Pansage, I need more spice and diversity on my team, said Sillin. Well, see what you can do to help then, said Sakura. We're behind you all the way. Thanks, that means a lot, replied Sillin. The group slowly approached the depressed Dwebble as not to startle it before Sillin called out to it. Hey there, we saw what happened and we want to help you get our house back. The Dwebble was alarmed that it was surrounded, but was happy to have some help get its house that it spent so long working on back. First let's see what moves it knows so we know what we're working with, said Ash as he scanned the Dwebble again. Says here that Dwebble knows the moves Rock Blast, Furry Cutter, Bug Bite, Withdraw, Dig and Shadow Claw, Red Ash. How that last one could come in handy when we go deal with those three. Sounds like a decent move set, noted Sonic. Yeah, sounds really good, praised Sakura. Psychic types better watch out as this little guy will ruin their day. The Dwebble blushed from the praise and was very thankful for it. Alright, so how are we going to find? Oh yeah, almost forgot you three are psychic and can locate them that way, said Iris. That's true, but before that we need to make sure Dwebble here will be able to take them on, said Sillin. It shouldn't be that hard for you, Sillin. You're great at helping Pokemon, said Ash. Thanks for the vote of confidence, thanked Sillin. Alright Dwebble, can you show us your moves so we know which ones you're really good at? Dwebble was more than happy to show them its moves. Once Dwebble showed them the moves it could do, Withdraw requiring a shell to work, so that was out. The group found that Dwebble's best moves were Furry Cutter, Dig and Shadow Claw. Well Sillin, you have a plan? Asked Ash. Not quite, now we need to see what the competition can do, replied Sillin. That way we can plan against them better. Sounds good, agreed Ash. You can borrow my Pokédex to scan them for their moves, just make sure its volume is turned off first. Don't want them to know you're there spying on them. Right, I'll be back as soon as I can, said Sillin as he left with Ash's Pokédex and Dwebble. So how long do you think Sillin will be gone? Asked Iris. About an hour, answered Sonic. Those other Dwebble aren't that far away, but in the meantime I'm going to practice my psychic powers with Kadabra. Same here, added Sakura. Me and Pikachu could use the practice as well, finished Ash. Perhaps while we wait for Sillin to come back, you could work with earning Excadrill's approval. Yeah, I guess I should, conceded Iris. So while most everyone worked on their psychic powers, Iris tried to reconnect with Excadrill. This is what Sillin came to when he returned from his little espionage mission. Well, I see you all spent your time wisely, noted Sillin, signaling his return to Iris as the others had most likely sensed his return. So what did you find? Asked Iris. Well, the largest of the three is the leader and is quite powerful and knows a good number of moves, answered Sillin. The other two, not so much. What do you think? Should we catch the leader or not? Asked Ash. But none of us need 1-inch, asked Sonic. Well, maybe not, but we could send it over to Professor Oak for him to study, explained Ash. It wouldn't hurt to help him with his research after all. Fair enough, but you're going to have to catch it, Ash, said Sonic. I doubt any of our current Pokemon could take it on. But what about your Scolipede, Sonic? Couldn't it take it on? Asked Ash. Well, I guess it could, but you have more reliable Pokemon on your team, replied Sonic. Plus I haven't really bonded well with Scolipede yet. Oh yeah, I forgot about it, not obeying you very much right now, said Ash as he remembered that little fact. Alright, I'll help take on the leader with Rockruff. Alright Ash, follow me to where those Dwebble are, said Sillin, and remember you're going to support Dwebble, not take the lead. I know that, Sillin, said Ash, offended. You're acting like I don't know when to take the back seat. Sometimes I wonder, Sillin said to himself. Of course Ash heard that with his enhanced hearing, but didn't say anything as both Sonic and Sakura would agree with that statement. Ash and Sillin soon arrived to where the three bully Dwebble were resting. Alright you three, it's time you paid for what you did, yelled Sillin as he stood on top of a large rock. Yeah, you're going to get it, yelled the Dwebble that was with them, you big meanies. The three Dwebble were shocked and caught off guard by the group's sudden appearance and the attacks that rained down on them. The two smaller Dwebble scrambled to compose themselves so that they could fight back, however the larger one recovered right away and fired back with a powerful rock wrecker. Ash, Sillin and their Pokemon jumped out of the way of the attack before ordering their Pokemon to fight back with Fire, Fong, Shadow Claw respectively. By this point the other two Dwebble recovered and joined the fight. From that point on it was Ash and Rockruff fighting the leader while Sillin and the Dwebble with them took on the two cronies. It was a long fight, but in the end Ash and Sillin won against the bullies with Ash catching the leader to send to Professor Oakladder. This caused the other two Dwebble to flee in terror as their leader was captured. The Dwebble that they helped got his house back and was very happy about it. Once they came back to the others, Ash and Sillin recounted the little adventure they had to them. "So now what?" asked Iris. "Are you going to catch the little guy or not?" "Well, Dwebble do. You want to come with me?" Sillin asked the little bug type. The little Dwebble thought about it for a minute before happily agreeing to be caught by Sillin. "Then welcome to the team, Dwebble," said Sillin happily as he caught Dwebble in a net ball. "Nice catch, Sillin," praised Ash. "Now you have a whole new Pokemon to bond with." "Thanks, Ash, I couldn't have helped Dwebble without you," replied Sillin in thanks. A few days later the group came across a daycare center. They are suddenly set upon by a group of little kids riding bikes with a Trubbish riding in one of the baskets with two adults running after them. "Stop! Please stop!" cries one of the adults. "No!" cry the children as they throw mud ball at the grown-ups, but end up hitting Sillin and Ash's psychic barrier that he threw up to protect himself from the mud. "I'm not amused," said Ash with some irritation in his voice with his arms crossed. The kids suddenly ride in fear of what Ash might do to them. "Just what is going on here?" asks Sonic. "Well," says one of the adults, who goes on to explain that her kindergartners had recently found a Trubbish living in the scrapyard and brought back with them to her kindergarten for them to keep, but she told them no and took it back to the scrapyard shortly after despite her students' pleas to keep the Trubbish. "Why couldn't the children keep the Trubbish?" asked Ash. "Trubbish like trash, and I can't have my kindergarten full of trash," answered the woman. "All right, I can understand that," said Ash, "but I take it didn't go over well with the children? Right, and now they've holed themselves up in a trash fort they made with the stuff from the scrapyard," answered the woman. "I see. Well, perhaps there's something we could do to help solve this," suggested Ash. "Oh, please do," begged the woman. "It's no problem, Mrs., said Ash. "Daniela," supplies Daniela. "Mrs. Daniela," said Ash. The group followed the two down to the kindergarten and saw that indeed the children had made a fort made of stuff found in a scrapyard. "Impressive," noted Ash. "Given it was made by little kids, it looks well put together." "Yeah, but we need to return the trash back to the scrapyard," said Daniela. "Plus it's not as sturdy as it looks." "All right, well, let me try to talk to them and see what they have to say for themselves," said Ash. "Be careful," Ash warned Sakura. "Right?" replied Ash as he approached the outer wall of the fort. "Geez, how is anyone supposed to climb this?" Ash asked himself. "Why do we need to climb?" asked Pikachu. "We can levitate with our psychic powers." "As not to scare the children any further," answered Ash. Makes sense," said Pikachu. As Ash slowly climbs over the wall, he takes note that the wall is indeed not as stable as it appears to be. As Ash reaches the top, he is suddenly attacked with mud bombs as one of the kids cries out, "Go away. You aren't welcome here." "Oh really?" Ash calls back before teleporting into the treehouse and asking, "Who's going to stop me?" The children scream as they did not expect Ash to suddenly appear inside their treehouse. "Looks like scared the little buggers," said Sakura when the others heard the children scream. "I bet he teleported right to them after they told him to go away," said Sonic. "Yeah, I bet. Tell Ash not to do something like that and he'll take it as a challenge to prove them wrong," said Sakura. "He's not going to hurt them, is he?" asked Daniela. "Nah, Ash is most likely to get their side of the story before he does anything else," assured Sakura. "Well, I hope this mess is taken care of soon," said Daniela with worry. "All right, tell me what's going on," Ash asked the children. "I can see you brought everything from the scrapyard. Now tell me why." "Because Mrs. Daniela is a big meanie and won't let us keep Trubbish," answered one of the children. "She said that Trubbish likes trash, so thought that if we brought it here we could keep Trubbish." "Yeah. We're the Trubbish Squad," cried another kid. "Hey, I remember playing squads when I was your age," said Ash with a chuckle. "But you have to know Mrs. Daniela is very worried about you, and that this place isn't very safe even though you did a good job putting it together." "But how are we going to keep Trubbish?" asked one of the children. "I don't think Mrs. Daniela knows much about poison types in general," answered Ash. "What do you mean?" asked one of the kids. Well, Trubbish isn't the only Pokemon that thrives in garbage or pollution, explained Ash. Grimer and Mook back home in Kanto are a prime example. So, asked the kids. So if you take them away from that and make sure they stay clean and happy, they won't stink, explained Ash. The same goes for Trubbish here. The only reason he would have caused a stink is if he got scared by Mrs. Daniela when you showed him to her. Ooh, yeah, she wasn't very happy and got real mad at us, said one of the kids. Trubbish didn't like that and made a big stink, making her get even angrier. I see. Well, how about we clean this mess up and go talk to her about keeping Trubbish again? Asked Ash. Will you help us keep Trubbish? Asked one of the kids hopefully. Of course I will, promised Ash with a smile. I'm part of your squad, am I not? You are? Asked the kids in surprise. Is there a reason can't I be? Asked Ash. No. You can be part of the Trubbish Squad, cried the children. Great, now let's get this mess taken care of, said Ash, who thought to himself, both literally and metaphorically. Soon the kids and Ash flew over the wall of junk, thanks to Ash's powers, and said that the kids will clean up the mess if only they get to keep Trubbish. No, you can't keep it, replied Mrs. Daniela stubbornly. Miss, I don't think you're going to win this argument, said Sillin. Once Ash has set his mind on something, you aren't going to change it very easily. He's right, agreed Sonic. For as long as I've known Ash, he's never lost an argument that he knew he could win in the end, even if it appears he's wrong for the longest time. Oh, you mean like when he said a bushel of berries you were eating had become overripe and you should get rid of them? Asked Sakura. Yes, like that one time, answered Sonic, who blushed a bit from remembering that very embarrassing aftermath from eating those berries, as they had been to fermenting for a long time, causing him to get drunk after eating all of them at once. They were his favorite kind of berry, but they only come every so often to Altimari due to their rarity. The kids cannot keep Trubbish, argued Daniela as she pulled out a pokeball, and if I have to use force to keep it away to protect my kindergarten, I will. Daniela sent out a spring coat Deerling. Ash raises an eyebrow at this as Deerling is weak to Trubbish's attacks. You are aware that Trubbish has the type advantage and numbers on his side, right? Asks Ash. 'Cause I am not going to let you force Trubbish away. Pikachu, I leave it up to you. Oi, agreed Pikachu as he flew down and stood in front of Deerling. If that's how it's going to be, then so be it, said Daniela. Deerling used double kick. The Deerling quickly moved in to hit Pikachu, but was knocked back due to Pikachu using Iron Tail. Deerling used Shadow Ball, called Daniela. And Pikachu countered it with an Electro Ball. Solar Beam, called Daniela. Pikachu used Rain Dance to slow the move down before firing off a combination of Psybeam and Thunderbolt and knocked Deerling out, then ended Rain Dance. That is one strong Pikachu, said one of the kids. Cute and powerful, agreed another. Heh, Pikachu enjoys a good battle just as much as he enjoys a good grooming, Ash told the children before asking Daniela, look, what do you know about Trubbish and other Pokemon similar to it? They need garbage to thrive, answered Daniela simply. Is that so? Asked Ash. I think someone has a different opinion, and if I'm right, the same one I have. What is he talking about? Daniela asked the other adult. What he is talking about is that Trubbish and Pokemon like it, if taken care of properly, will no longer smell bad, answered the woman. If that's the case, why didn't you say anything sooner? Asked Daniela. Because whether it's children or Pokemon, everyone needs to learn how to raise them, answered the woman. I should know, I run a Pokemon daycare. Oh. If that's the case, then I guess you kids can keep Trubbish, said Daniela, but you have cleaned this mess up. Okay, we will, cried the children. And I'll help, added Ash. It took until dark for all of the junk to be returned to the scrapyard. So Ash and the others stay overnight at Karina's, the daycare lady, place which is part of the same building as Daniel's kidder. The next morning, as the group was heading out, they were stopped by Karnina, who was holding an incubator that had an egg in it. Here, I wanted to give this to you for your help yesterday, said Karnina as she held out the egg to Ash. Thanks, I'll take excellent care of it, thanked Ash as he took the egg. Oh, I'm sure you will, said Karnina happily.